Welcome to the Allianz Stadium at Twickenham. Here we go. We're into the second weekend of the Autumn Nations series. It's England against Australia coming your way here on 5 Sports Extra. We're getting underway. Kick-off at 3:10, but lots of build-up to come your way first. My name's Sarah Orchard. Delighted to say, sat alongside me, currently munching their way through either sweets or an orange, depending which way I look. I have Paul Grayson, 2003 World Cup winner, and another one, 2003 World Cup winner, Matt Dawson. Good afternoon, gents. How are we both?
Hi, Sarah.
Very good, thanks, Sarah.
Who's having the orange? Who's having the sweets?
I'm having an orange-flavoured sweet.
There we go. Right then, gents, how are you feeling about this, first of all, Matt Dawson? Because I think everyone was just thinking that England would turn up here and beat Australia, but I think there's a lot more to be said about this fixture than that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There will be more, but I am expecting England to turn up and beat Australia. I think the way that they played last weekend at times was pretty decent for a first-up autumn international against an All Black side who, they had capability, and at times England looked to dominate that game last week. So if they do get into that type of mood, if they are as dominant up front as maybe they were at times against New Zealand, I'm not sure Australia will be able to handle that, and therefore I think there'll be a few more opportunities for England to score some tries.
And Dawes, do you think that this game's taken on a little bit of extra significance because England lost the game last week that they should have won?
I think it has, because it puts pressure on England to actually win a game.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that the players have put some pressure on themselves to maintain the way that they played in the first half. I mean, it disappointed me last week, Grace, that there was such a shift in style and momentum when we were all, oh, here comes George Ford, he's calming it all down, he's going to be playing in the right areas with the right tempo, with the right moves, and that wasn't the case. I'm hoping that there's a little bit more continuity from this England side throughout the whole 80 rather than just for 40.
And I'm hoping that off the back of last week, again, you never get them back, and you've got to learn your lessons, and you've got to take the hurt of a game where they'll probably go, well, we closed down too far, we invited pressure on ourselves, bottle all that up, we're not going backwards, we're going to carry on the evolution of how we defend aggressively, but it's all about getting the ball back, and then what can we do on the front foot with the ball. I like the noises coming out of the England camp this week about being relentless and about not being silly, but trying to keep that pace of play up all the way to the end, because it was pretty obvious that if you go back to the hyper-dull early Borthwick era, which they almost did for the last 20 minutes, ain't the way to win test matches, is it?
No, particularly when we saw last night. So, I mean, I know it was a little bit stop and start, but you could see the intent, and certainly from New Zealand, that was a step up from New Zealand. They hit the ground, not necessarily as much in a running fashion last week, but they improve week to week, and the top sides do. If England want to put themselves down as a top side, they have to improve from last week.
We should take a comment from both of you about what happened last night in Dublin. Ireland 13, New Zealand 23. If you didn't see the fixture, a lot of drop balls, particularly in the first half. A lot of penalties given away by Ireland. Are Ireland starting to creak, Paul Grayson? Should they be pressing the panic button? Andy Farrell about to go off towards his Lions duty. What was your summation of it?
I don't quite have a clear view, having like the pre-game they're the best team number one team in the world, disappointed with their World Cup exit in the quarter-finals. Again, they've got New Zealand, who they 0-1 from the World Cup, and they met the Haka head on, and perhaps they got themselves to a point where they were almost you can become over aroused on the occasion, and your skills break down. And they definitely did. They conceded so many turnovers, handling errors, uncharacteristic, because they're attacking when Johnny Sexton's been out of the team and retired, has still functioned pretty well. But it's the base element is you've got to be able to catch and pass, and they couldn't do that last night. I don't think New Zealand were incredible in the way that they attacked, but they were relentless and more accurate than Ireland. So I don't think they need to panic necessarily, but it will be a wake-up call that they got it wrong somehow. I'm thinking maybe they got themselves too hyped up and couldn't perform the basic skills. But a loss at home is going to hurt, isn't it?
Well, and on that point, I mean, these are silly little. They may be deemed as silly little comments, but it's sort of symptomatic of how the game went last night. Last week the hacker Joe Marler's comments, England creep forward, New Zealand go forward. It's all very tense. I don't know. Did you see the hacker last night?
Yep. And once again, Ireland advanced.
Ireland advanced. What did New Zealand do?
Advanced.
Nope. When they did their,
they came into a huddle.
When they did their last
and then they
bit,
turned their back.
They just turned their back, walked
right.
away. Enough. And that is purposeful. They would have spoken about that to say they're going to do something, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Ignore it. Turn away. Walk away. Get on with the job. What's the next job? The kickoff. Whereas Ireland was really focused in that moment. Now, I know it's still all about the hacker, but it just gives you an insight into the mindset of the two sides. And the point Grace is making, that it meant so much to Ireland for this fixture, whereas you felt New Zealand were there to do a job and to win the game and get to Paris.
What did you guys do when you went down to New Zealand and you won those big tests down there when you reduced to 13? Nothing in front of the hacker at all?
No, I think they got to a point. The hacker was a massive deal and culturally significant and everything else, but it was a massive deal because you were facing the best team in the world, and it normally prefaced you getting absolutely thumped. And all teams around the world, they were almost invincible, and the lengths of discussions that would go on about what you're going to do when you stand in front of the hacker. Will Carling's England, I think, they started wearing their tracksuits so that when the hacker would finish, they could waste some time. Everyone takes their tracksuits off, decompresses a bit, let the All Blacks, like the wind come out of their sails a little bit. People didn't even face it. They went in a huddle. And then England started to beat New Zealand and the Southern Hemisphere teams routinely, and it just became it's your thing, we'll stand here, you do your thing, and then we're going to beat you. And it's part of the theatre, and fantastic from the outside, meant largely nothing. Not belittling it, but saying that it was okay, do what you want to do, but we'll see you in minute 78 and see what the score is.
It's easy to get wrapped up in it because
we're still talking about it, aren't we?
We talk about it, but it is us. It's the media that talk about it. Even the fans, they enjoy the hacker, but they're not necessarily worried about, what are the opposition going to do? The narrative comes from the media that, this could be a moment, and the TV are all over it, and there's smoke and fireworks, and the microphones are under their noses and you can hear it. But actually, I thought New Zealand played a blinder yesterday by just diffusing the whole thing, turn around, walk away, right, let's get on with the kickoff. You could see Ireland was there for just that 2 or 3 seconds of, I thought we were going to have a bit of a standoff.
Where's
for a minute
confrontation?
Here.
Yeah.
Right then, let's focus on matters here at Twickenham. That was Dublin. We're now all eyes here on what's going on in West London. The headlines for England ahead of this match against Australia is essentially the 15 is unchanged, other than the numbers on the backs of Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade's shirts. So Lawrence will be wearing 13 and Slade will be wearing 12. Perhaps the bigger impact will come off the bench with Luke Cowan-Dickie named at hooker. Also, it's a 5-3 this week compared to the 6-2 that Borthwick went for last week. Ollie Slightholme, of course, coming in there wearing 23. It's Ben Curry, ultimately the man who is sacrificed from the forwards. We're going to talk about those centre partnerships then in just a moment's time with both Paul Grayson and Matt Dawson. But let's hear from one of them about the change. Here's England's Ollie Lawrence, and also what he makes of the 13 for Australia, Joseph Swahili.
I've seen some of his league stuff because I do watch a bit of league, and he's a great player. Switching codes to Union is a challenge in itself, and I think him going out there, he'll just want to kind of enjoy the occasion more than anything. And like I said, it's tough when you come into these environments and you have this outside noise and there's expectation for you to be a certain player or do what you were doing in his case in league, but hopefully he just goes out there and enjoys it, and there's not going to be any mind games from my perspective anyway or anything like that. It's just a great opportunity to play against great players.
It is Australia week. They are hurting a little bit at the moment. Does that make them a bit more dangerous?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're hurt and you're vulnerable, I guess it sometimes brings the best out in the team. I think if you look at us and the way we've come on as a team, like we had to go through those hard defeats to come out the other end. And if you look at the Six Nations, for example, and the way we started, and then we had that downfall against Scotland, which wasn't really us putting our best foot forward, and then kind of went into the back end of it, and then into the summer and really showed glimpses of what we can do as a team. But I think Jamie touched on it last week about we can't just be close to these teams now, and we need to get over the line, and that's something we're really pushing within training, and Steve's reinforcing each week is we need to close out games, because if we want to be a top team in the world, then the top teams close out games. So that's something we're working on, and something that we're looking forward to bringing on to Saturday to make sure we can get a big win at Allianz Twickenham.
There you go, Ollie Lawrence there speaking at the England team hotel, Penny Hill Park earlier this week. Now, a little bit of chat there about the Australian 13, who we will move on to, but first of all, let's deal with this England slight change. Paul Grayson, are you reading too much into the shirt change from what we saw last week? How important is it that Ollie Lawrence gets the ball in his hands?
Yeah, and you can leave the numbers as they were before and ask players to do different things. We've seen it in the past. Eddie Jones put Manu in a 14 shirt, and if you play well, you play well. Ollie Lawrence runs particular lines for Bath in that 13 channel that get him on the ball off short passes. Ultimately, he's a power runner. He's a line runner. He gets you on the front foot, and he can make busts in phase play and break the line and put people in for scores, and that's what he does at Bath, and that's what we want to see him doing in an England shirt, because there's no point getting picked for doing one thing and then asked to do something else. So the significance of it defensively, I'm sure he'll defend at 12. Attacking wise, he'll probably set up in the 13 channel, but that doesn't mean you're absolutely tied down in that role. But I wouldn't be surprised if it is. The numbers are a little bit of window dressing.
As I said, I'll talk you through Australia in a moment, but Matt, when it comes to that bench, Luke Cowan-Dickie coming in, I mean, is that just indicative perhaps of what happened at the scrum, perhaps in that last 20 minutes against New Zealand?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's Cowan-Dickie is probably known for being a little bit more of a scrum. A lot of it depends though on how the game's going though. That's a really tough call, because when you're playing against someone like Australia, you think it might actually get a little bit looser towards the end of the game. Do you want someone like Theo Dan to come in the game who has that a little bit more handling ability, that ability to beat people ball in hand, as well as I don't know. I think if I was Theo Dan, I'd be absolutely devastated. I was being judged on that, considering the opposition that you're playing against.
George Ford doesn't hit the post with that penalty and it goes over and they win. They don't even have to do a drop goal. Is Theo Dan still in the 23?
It's ridiculous.
It's one of those, isn't it?
It's ridiculous.
And what about Ollie Slightholme? Ultimately, Ben Curry misses out. Ben Curry was probably one of the best replacements last week.
Yeah, and they go back to a traditional 5-3. It'd be interesting to know why they've gone for that, but as a former Northampton Saint, Dorse the same, we both played with Ollie's dad at Northampton and for England, so it's great to see a son of on the bench at number 23, and interestingly enough, Max Jorgensen, number 23 for Australia. Matt and I both played with his dad as well. He came to Northampton for a couple of years around 2001-2-3. Great bloke Jorgo, rugby union prodigy, went to rugby league. His son's pretty much done the same, picked union not league, so awesome that little Ollie Slightholme is on the bench for England, and Jorgo's boy too.
You said the word prodigy, let's go there. Australia's number 13 on his debut, 21 years old, Joseph Ukuso-Suaalii, making his debut only 40 days ago. He was still with the Roosters, still with NRL. One of the last things he actually did with them was get a 4-week ban in the State of Origin game for a big high hit. Arguably the ban could have actually been longer. That's one of the things we're really going to be focusing on today. But this guy is something special. Rugby Union is very lucky to have him, isn't he, Paul Grayson?
And Rugby Australia, they've found some cash down the back of the sofa for a union that's broke and and that has looked rudderless and confused, and the debacle of Eddie Jones coming back to fix everything and somehow making it worse. Awful, worst ever return in a World Cup, and then suddenly you spend 5 million Aussie dollars on Rugby League's wonder kid, and this is how good he is. Rugby League are in Australia, the NRL are genuinely doing well not to swear here, really brassed off that they've nicked him, because he's a mega star. and for Union to swipe in from under their noses has hurt them badly. It's a statement from Australia, and I hope it gives us 20% of what he's capable of today, because he is mega.
Is he going to be mega from 13, Grace?
Yes, because he's played full-back wing and right side centre, so genuinely one in from the wing. And I was listening to you while I was driving down, you and Chris were talking about it, and England maybe going after him in that 13 channel. As a defender, he is rugby league players are sensational defenders. All the patterns that Union run now have been lifted from rugby league, and he has an ability to kind of to read the play and then slam the door shut. I think there's a risk that he might make a little high shoulder shot. Sarah's just alluded to. He's a sensational defender, so England might go after him. They might catch him out, but none of it's going to be a surprise to him, because he defends it week in, week out in the. I mean, it's the highest level you can play league, the NRL and the state of origin. So, and the other side of the ball, at 6'5", he is properly rapid, and he can step off both feet. So he's got lateral movement, he's got pace, he's got size, he's got aerial skills, he's brave, he's hard, he smashes people. I'm not his agent, but I wouldn't mind being. I'm genuinely excited about seeing him.
You could be.
About seeing him live, though.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, it's like, wow, if he hangs around, they can build a team around him.
And we were watching him when he came out the tunnel. The first thing you notice is he is massive, 6'5". The other thing you notice, he hasn't even got his shoes on. He's so calm and casual out there. And he made his NRL debut at 17 years old. He's done a lot of big stages. We're talking about him playing a state of origin. This is not going to faze him. It's whether he can just adjust to that slight rugby union mindset and ultimately dip at the hips.
And it's the complexities of rugby union. It's what you do when you get tackled, how do you present the ball when you're vulnerable, all those difficult things that guys moving from league to union, they're the hard parts. Running with the ball, not complicated. It's all the dull stuff that takes a lifetime to learn.
Okay, we're about to get underway then at Twickenham. Players out onto the field. Australia off to the right-hand side. Of course, they're wearing the green and gold. They've got their tracksuit tops on. On the left-hand side of the field, England run out, of course, led by Jamie George. The big flags are starting to wave. It is going to be a few moments until we get to kick-off, because we are going to have the minute silence, because it is, of course, Remembrance Sunday tomorrow. So there's going to be a few things for us to get through before we actually get to the match itself. But the big flags waving on the left-hand side of the field of the play. Big red roses going at the moment as everyone just empties out of the tunnel. And they're just going to make their way forward first of all. The referees in the middle of the park as well. We can see Ben O'Keefe of New Zealand. In the truck somewhere in the car park is Glenn Newman, also of New Zealand. Their touch judge team will be made up of Nika Amashakeli of Georgia and also Paul Williams of New Zealand as well. But Twickenham will now take a moment, first of all, to make it stand against hate. It won't stand for it in rugby union. But first of all, we will have a moment of silence here at Twickenham to mark Remembrance Sunday.
Who have lost their lives through conflict or terrorism.
You are listening to 5 Sports Extra. We're at Twickenham for England against Australia. Now the anthem, starting with Advance Australia Fair. You'll now hear God Save the King.
If able, please remain standing for the national anthem of England, performed by Don Hartley Harris. God Save the King.
This is 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. We're live at Allianz Stadium in Twickenham for England against Australia in the Autumn Nations Series. This is your Australia lineup, currently ranked 9th in the world. At fullback, it's Tom Wright. Onto the wings, you've got Andrew Kellaway and Dylan Peach. Moving into the centres, this is where the talking points lie. Len Ikitau, he wears 12, with Joseph Okuso Swahili, he's wearing 13. Moving into the halfbacks, Noah Lolaseo and Jake Gordon. And then the forwards, Angus Bell, Matt Fesler and Tanelea Tupu make up your front row, with Nick Frost and Jeremy Williams in the second row. Then the back row, Rob Valentini, Fraser McWright, and wearing 8 on his back, skippering the side, Harry Wilson. The bench for Australia is Paenga Amosa, Slipper, Ala Alatoa, Salakai Alotto, Gleeson, McDermott, Donaldson and Jorgensen. Moving on to England. There is changes, but it's only to shirt numbers. At fullback, it's George Furbank. On the wings, we've got Manny Faywe with Boso and Tommy Freeman. Henry Slade wears 12 and Ollie Lawrence 13, with Marcus Smith and Ben Spencer continuing at 9 and 10. Into the forwards, where Ellis Genge, Jamie George, who obviously captains, wearing 2 on his back, is alongside Will Stewart at 3. Maro Toje and George Martin at 4 and 5, and then the back row, Chandler Cunningham South, Tom Curry and Ben Earl at 8. On the bench then for England, again changes. Cowan Dickey comes in, Finn Baxter and Cole continue, with Ezekwe and Don Brandt. They make up the rest of the forwards. And finally, Randall, Ford and Slightholme. It's Slightholme who comes in. That is your England lineup. We're about to get underway. My name's Sarah Orchard. Alongside me for this one, 2003 World Cup winners Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson. It'll be England who will be kicking us off. They're travelling from left to right in this first half. Australia waiting to receive on the right-hand side of the field. Of course, wearing the green and gold. The green shorts, the gold tops, and they're just lined up, just waiting to receive as we speak. Ben O'Keefe is flashed up on the big screens. We know that he is ready to to get this underway in a few moments' time. Of course, this is England against Australia. England ranked 5th in the world, Australia 9th. Joe Schmidt has just 4 tests now to get this Australian outfit firing ahead of that Lions tour next year, and we're underway. What can England do here after the disappointment last week against the All Blacks? It's Australia who go high up to receive it through Jeremy Williams as the Western Force lock lands back down on the ground. Driven forward once again by Australian forwards, but stuck inside of their own 22. Warning in there for Australia to go and use it. Lolaseo, he sends it down the field towards the far side. Waiting calmly there is Smith. He manages to feed Manny Fewo-Boso. Almost falls over his own feet in trying to drive and propel himself forward. But it's England attacking now down inside of the Australian half. They're between the 10 and the 22, about 20 metres out from the far side touch. Not a minute played yet at Twickenham. No score here. Smith with the distribution to Lawrence. Him and Slade both very tight alongside each other in that attack. Spencer looks up. Smith offers himself again. Lawrence just working his shoulders. Furbank is off the position at fullback, and just that little bit of ballast as they go into tackles and contact. Slade then with the tip off in the end to Stewart, who drives forward towards the 22. Someone's lost a scrum cap on the field, and England so far locked out of the 22. Do they just go over? Yes, they do. This time we get to see it through Freeman. Couple of metres into that big zone that England need to be in, but once they enter the 22, can they come away with points? Smith with the footwork side to side. Curry, he takes it forward. Appeals going up from Australia. Not to be. Spencer, this is slow distribution from him. Lawrence once again is the battering ram to force it over the 22, but not quite the gain line. Genge driving forward, building up ahead of steam. The crowd enjoy that one. That's lost on the floor. Spencer scragged, and can Australia get turnover ball? No, they can't. It's been knocked on by England. Australia get the ball back after all of that huff and puff from England. The green and gold will clear Matt Dawson.
Yeah, nice patterns from England. Quite enjoyed that. Seemed to understand what one another wanted to do. Smith, Slade, Grace just slotting in very much to that second receiver role.
Yeah, nice and easy, interchangeable. You've got 3 really good distributors in the England backline, Smith, Slade and Furbank, and those 3 need the runners to be off them. Freeman, Fewo-Boso, Lawrence, and the forwards willing as ever, so expect those 3 to be pulling the strings if England can get on the front foot.
When it comes to the scrum, this is a real area of strength that the Australians have. They've had good success in it this year. Is the first time they go to engage, it's just gone straight down onto the floor. 96% success rate, and they are a little bit heavier, the Australians, and I'm saying that without Will Skelton being involved at all. They want to see a bit more from Nick Frost and Jeremy Williams, 25 and 23 years old. They're just trying to build combinations, a bit of depth there, Joe Schmidt.
Yeah, and you know we know what Will Skelton's capable of when he's fully fit and firing and scrimmaging behind Taniela Tupou on the tight head side. That is formidable, and we want Australia to be good. We need Australia to be strong. We want these lads to come through and you know, to be looking forward to a Lions series next year with Australia turning the corner. So
well, that scrum is better. Little bit of downward pressure as their heads do hit the floor, but Australia do manage to clear. The ball bounces out on the near side. Furbank was there, happy to let it go. It'll be an England line out on this near side. Just inside of the England half as Jamie George steps up to gather the ball. So the exit was completed by Australia, but it's England's chance of having another attack. They're just waiting for the signal to come in of Jamie George to know what he's doing. Maritoshi then does give in the signal, and George waits. The England skipper, 95th cap for him as he closes in on that century, taken high in the air by Martin of Leicester. Ben Earl then, he comes in for a little bit of heavy lifting as he crashes into the Australian forwards. Australia just told to get back there from the contact position over the top of the ruck. Spencer goes digging once again, gets it out over the halfway line. Smith is there, he pushes through for Lawrence to chase. This is nice from England. Lawrence gets it, oh, beautiful enough. He can't quite see on his shoulder that Slade was there, but wonderful attack by England. All made by Smith, finished off by Lawrence, and still going forward. It's Genge now has it. They're trying to keep it in the hands. Fewo-Boso. Yes, out towards the far side. Cunningham South in the corner. And England go over within 5 minutes. Here at Twickenham is now England 5, Australia 0. Matt Dawson.
Wow, clinical. Very, very clinical. There seemed to be nothing on, really. slightly laboured ball, but of course when you've got a magician like Marcus Smith, the vision of the guy, the communication from him and his outside backs just to nudge that grubber through. Probably thought Australia should have covered in some way, because the ball had I don't know, 2 or 3 bounces, but it popped up beautifully for Lawrence, who recycled it. There's still an awful amount to do. That's gone through 5, 6 pairs of hands out of the tackle. Spin, Jamie George. Spin pass, Ellis Gaines. Quick hands, Tom Curry. Ben Earl to the trio, the third man in the back row, Chandler Cunningham South to skid in the corner. They'll be talking about that for a few days to come, that back row.
Great skills there from England in the tightest of areas, bouncing out of tackles as Smith steps up from the right hand touchline, drags it across the front. Not his best effort, but a great try. I've got half an idea, Dawes, that pre-planned that play from the back of the line out, smashed into the middle. Ollie Lawrence was kind of doing nothing, hanging around inside Marcus Smith's shoulder, nudges it through. Seen that a couple of times at Bath. Finn Smith threading kicks through for Lawrence. Maybe he's brought that to the table.
Noah Ololose is going to get us back underway. He actually started at 10 for those 3 tests back in 2022 when England went down to Australia. England then came away from that one with a 2-1 series win, and back in the day when Eddie Jones was actually the Australia coach, but as the ball goes down to ground, they wait for it to be recycled. Managed to be dug out again, this time over the line on the halfway. Big hits going in, and Cunningham South actually making himself available there. When it goes back, it's Lola Sayer who puts the ball high into the air, gathered that time by Furbank. Great run through there by Kellaway to really pushing them back inside of their own half. It's between the 10 and the 22 and not releasing. And that means England get a penalty to clear the lines. And Smith tried to go quickly there, but referee Ben O'Keefe will bring them back.
So Joseph Suaaliti's first touch in International Rugby Union, winning the restart back. Australia went short to the right, leapt like a salmon, one-handed, tapped it back, won it easy, and then he tried to follow through on that chip ahead, got wiped out by a couple of England players who didn't do anything wrong. The TMO's checked it in the background, but Suaaliti's in the game.
Well, you can just hear the referee talking there to the Australia captain, Harry Wilson, just warning him that that was a little bit high. So the warning went in. England happy to play on. Right then, line out inside of the Australian half. Tina 10 to do. Martin can only bat it down, but it's taken nicely by Spencer. Lawrence, big push back from him. Huge tackles raining down from Australia. Lawrence was just left there, pacing it backwards. No one picked it up in the end, and Australia now have it. Wonderful physical effort now by the forwards. Taken forward this time by McWright. He's going forward inside of the England half, over the 10 metres. More players arrive. They send it out to the backs. Lola Sayer, he's looking to get it into the hands of that man. Suaaliti, the first time we really get to see him do anything on the ball, and he's pushed backwards in a tackle. Wasn't given enough time to even breathe when he got his hands on the ball there. England quickly marking him out. Was England offside there? Yes, they were. So the penalty advantage goes the way of Australia. Is that within their kicking range? They've got a free hit now. Out goes towards this near side wing, taken on by Peach on this side. It's still penalty advantage towards the Wallabies. Gathered in the end, pushed down the line. Wilson with the distribution. Ollie Lawrence throws himself on the floor, but they'll come back for offside. And England have to be a little bit careful there, because that was quite a big offside as well.
Offside. I'm not sure England need to be testing themselves with that offside line. They're so organised, and Australia are taking the ball relatively static. I think that England probably just need to come off half a pace, Grace.
It's just that it's the eagerness, isn't it? We know that they've changed their mindset defensively. They're going flat out blitz. They look well organised, and it's just that temptation to get up there and apply the pressure. You see the nine's hands go into the base of the ruck, and eager back rower want to go and smash the 10.
But you know, Australia had the previous ruck. Australia made some ground. Peach had a little dive down this left-hand side, and therefore England are on the retreat. You can't go blitzing or off a negative phase in defence. You are going to get caught out and picked off either by an individual or by the referee.
Brumbies Noah Loloseo with the penalty right in front of the post, but it's a long way out, and he has struck that very nicely between the posts. Australia off the mark. It's now England 5, Australia 3. Nearly 10 minutes played, Paul Grayson.
Yeah, and that I'm on Swahili watch at the moment. Got his first carry, stepped hard off his right foot, got between two defenders, got his arms free easy enough, got the offload away, and then recycled himself around to the short side. Played first receiver, got the ball in and out of his hands. He looks comfortable.
Nice restart there by Australia to get the man into the air. Gets distributed again, once again, to the captain, Harry Wilson, only 24 years old. He's a real powerhouse player for them as they try and build the combination in the back row with Valentini and McWright. High ball up, bit of contact in the air there, but I think they'll call that a rugby incident as neither player really comes away with it. Batted down by Australia, but turned over on the ground in the end by England, who now travel forward over the 10-metre line. It's Curry who tries to just break the tackle there, well over the gain line, but gets scragged eventually. Slade with the distribution to Smith. He gives it to Lawrence, who is running these really tight lines off shoulders throughout this first half, and Smith thinks he can get through. He's got support in his shoulder. Smith still going. He is eventually brought down 5 metres from the line. Marcus Smith once again on the break. This time it's Cunningham South who's already scored one. He's looking for another. Gathered by, in the end it goes back to Spencer, not quite to Martin, who thought he was over the line, managed to just stop himself. This is strong from England. They're nearly there. Are they over? Ben O'Keefe says no. They're going to have to go again. Spencer will have to find it. There's options on either side. They just go round the corner once again. Ben O'Keefe is down on his hands and knees to try and look, but Australia somehow have held that up. They're going to come back for a penalty 5 metres out.
Nice shoulder balls. Just England attacking with, anyone will recognise, 3 forwards together. One middleman gets the ball, got an option outside, an option inside. Tom Curry ran the hole this time, made a nice clean line break, and then Matt Dawson, you're frowning as England go quick.
Decided to not even interested. It's Cunningham South who goes. So what they did, they went for the tap penalty, England, and Cunningham South has gone over for 2 tries in the space of 6 minutes to give England a 10-3 lead.
Yeah, there was definitely a case of white line fever going on there on that previous play. Will Stewart trying to pick and go round the corner, getting held up when there were overlaps aplenty left and right. After all the brilliant work from individuals, we've got to pick out Marcus Smith there, making a lovely step off his right, throwing the fence, setting it up, quick phase ball. England should have been walking tries in, however, they didn't switch off, and it all for all money looked like an easy 3 points, but no, quick tap penalty. Chandler Cunningham South looking very lively, and that was a great decision.
Just 1 second, the TMO's coming in to do a check. We just listen in here to what
was you want to check.
So what I'm looking at here, Ben, is that there's separation from the hand.
Okay, so put on the big screen, please. At the moment, our on-field decision is try. We're making sure that the player has control, or if there's separation from the hand.
Okay, so the TMO thinks there might be a bit of separation from when Cunningham South goes over the line to touch it down. Your initial thoughts, Paul Grayson?
Didn't see any from that angle. It says the Australian player, can't quite see the number, lands on top of Cunningham South.
Right.
But it looks as though the ball, no, there's no separation there for me.
I think the TMO needs to...
Yeah, I'm just trying to check if his left hand stays in contact with the ball here.
Be quiet. His left hand doesn't need to be in contact with the ball. He's got control with it with his right hand in the grip. His right forearm pushes down. Get your nose out of it, TMO. Get on with the game.
Ben, we're going to award this try.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ben.
We're going to go through the detail for me, so back on me when you're ready.
Yeah,
Okay, try is good. Marcus Smith will now get on with his kick. They're still replaying it at the moment on the big screen. I think they're just going in to explain to Australia what's happened.
For me, so the on-field decision stands. It's going to be a try. The player's still in control of the ball with both hands, even though there's movement. There's no clear separation. He grounds the ball.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep. Okay, restart the shot clock.
Okay, well, that was Glenn Newman of New Zealand making himself known to the world there. And I think we've just delayed the game for a minute for nothing.
Restarted.
And the shot clock is now confused because, of course, the 60 seconds and it has to be restarted because it had run out. But Marcus Smith doesn't need much time for this one. So he gets his first kick of the afternoon. He's now 1 from 2, and England now nearly 12-3 with 13 on the clock.
And there in that attack, they rotation of first receiver. George Furbank came into first receiver, passed to Marcus Smith, took it to the line, sent Ollie Lawrence off his shoulder, running one of those holes, got him on the front foot. Smith then back in at first receiver. Quick flat ball, pass from Genge, I think it was. He makes the break. So attack starting to shape up.
You are listening to 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. You are listening to Autumn Nations Series. England against Australia. We're in the first half, 13 minutes on the clock. England 12, Australia 3. As England send the ball high into the air. Freeman goes to gather the ball. It's been knocked on though. And so we'll restart then with an Australian scrum on the halfway. If you are looking out for the football this afternoon on 5 Live right now, of course, Premier League commentary of Wolves against Southampton, plus all goals and incidents as they happen elsewhere with Ian Dennis and Paul Robinson. And then at 5:30, it's Brighton against Man City with John Murray and Steve Sidwell. Right, we've got a scrum once again, and the last time we had a scrum, it wasn't as clean as perhaps the Front Row Union would like, or sometimes they like a bit of fun and games as well. We've got a close eye at the moment on Jake Gordon, the 31-year-old scrum half from the Waratahs. Him and Tate McDermott at the moment, keeping Nick White out of the green and gold jersey. As Gordon makes his way around, he's had to work hard for his 28th cap today, and it's a penalty for England. And that's a big penalty for them, and that will be a dent in the Australian pack.
Far side.
Yeah, slightly tough to see from where we are. The nudge, which often gives it away, looked like Australia had control of it, and then there was a late wheel, and potentially Tupou's there has been penalised, but England will take that all day long. Great opportunity to get inside or close to opposition 22, and let's be honest, England have looked very, very dangerous after multiple phases with these 3 first receivers that Paul Grayson's talking about. Australia don't know where to defend.
Nice platform here for England, just outside of the Australian 22. Itoje goes up from the line out. Jamie George then joins at the back. Australia chuck a few more bodies into this more, but it's a breakaway through. George is on his own. Spencer there having to come and help him. No scrum half at the moment. There's the ball, it's out. Australia say thank you very much, we'll have that. Not a problem, and they managed to come away. Valentini managed to get it down to his captain Wilson. Now we're flying away down the near side wing. Here comes back inside to Peach. He's then switching in and out there with Wright. That was really nice there by 2 of the back 3 of Australia to get them back down the other end of the field. They're outside of the England 22 now. All that excitement for England, and Australia have just hoovered up the ball that was just left there for a gift. Australia on the ball, outside of the England 22, through the hands now. Ikitau has it. He goes down to the ground, the 26-year-old from the Brumbies. Slides down the Australian line, bounces on the floor, it's all backwards, but this is where Australia is starting to fall apart, and Ben Spencer is alive to everything, pops off the ball, foot race on now for Freeman. Outside him is Slade, he's going to be dragged down, he didn't know he was there, and he's all on his own. Somehow England have held on to it, somehow Jamie George got there, Ben Spencer gets it back to Smith. England now back on the Australian 22, this is harem-scarum stuff. England 12, Australia 3, 16 minutes on the clock as Spencer falls over himself to get the ball away for England. This time it goes into the hands of Freeman, loose on the floor. Smith has to go back and gather it. A little bit of a high kick over the top, dink through there by Smith, giving it back to Australia though. We pushed out towards this near side. Peach is waiting once again. Ben Earl alongside him. Did Ben Earl push him over? Will the referee have a look at that? Ellis Genge goes back. England have slowed down. Referee happy that that was all fair. I think if you're an Australian fan watching that, you will be slightly aggrieved. If you're an England fan, delighted that play continues. As Harlequins Chandler Cunningham South goes through the middle of the park. Smith, high ball up, contestable. Who's going to be underneath it? It's an Australian man in Lolaseo. He's going to have to go down to ground. And he's back inside of the Australian half between the 10 and the 22. And it's an England penalty after all of that. Australia off their feet. And it's a kickable penalty, and with the score at 12-3, will they go for the posts or will they set up something from a line-out?
Both teams loose as a goose with the ball. Australia breaking out from twice from their own 22 when England have given the ball away and then immediately given it back to them. Time it was Wright kicked the ball ahead, bumped into Ben Earl. and fell over. No penalty given. Australia guilty of throwing offload after offload, shoveling bad ball on and eventually losing it. Tommy Freeman then made the break. Suaalii ran him down in an instant, showing genuine pace.
Jake Gordon was just told to go back there by the referee. He wanted to talk to him. He's just been told off, saying please go through your captain, go through Harry Wilson, as Marcus Smith lines this one up.
Yeah, I don't think Marcus Smith will be in any rush here because he wants his team to get some water on board, take a few breaths, hands on head, suck it in there because their lungs would be burning. Both sides are prepared to run from anywhere. I mean, there's obvious signs from Australia. They can be devastating from deep. And the way that England are playing, if they are going to turn the ball over, there are going to be more opportunities for Australia, which, you know, we've all enjoyed. If the game is going to be like this, I think England got every chance of competing.
Marcus Smith then with the penalty opportunity. He's now 2 from 3 with the boot as he extends England's lead to 15-3 here at Twickenham. After we've seen some incredible passages of play, but the big thing we have to say in all of this is as a lot of it is loose, we are seeing England going for the attack here, Paul Grayson.
Yeah, and also counter-attacking too. Australia are going to give them the ball back that easily. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for England to have organised attack and instinctive attack.
Well, all the build-up to this game was all about the Australian 13, Suaalii. We really haven't seen hardly anything of him so far in this fixture to talk about, as England from the restart had the ball on the far side of the field, just mauling it nicely a couple of metres down. Remember, they're not playing the maul rule where you can only use it once in this Autumn Nations series. It can be a bit confusing, the different laws that are going in and out. The ball came down, England have retained it. Smith then with a crossfield kick, he's eyeing up the 50-22. It is on, but back there chasing it is Lola Say. It wouldn't have gone out of play anyway, as the fly half gathers and pushes it back towards right. He looks for options, uses his right boot, sends it towards the far side of the field. And it will be an England liner on that far side. And you do just feel at the moment we haven't really seen much from Australia at all yet.
No, but they've counter-attacked twice, and you say that Suaalii's not done a lot. He was in the great little take and give in his own 22 to get them away down the left-hand side, but it's from face play that they've not managed to make it stick, conceding penalties at the scrum. You can't launch your attack if you can't win your own ball.
OK, well, we just heard Ben O'Keefe say that there's an HIA for 14, which is Manny Fewe-Weboso, so we're just waiting for that to actually come through. Also
Tom's
checking
off, 14
that it
going
is...
off HIA.
There you go. So that will have been an alert that comes up. Of course, all the players now, they wear the little chip in the mouth guards, so something will have flashed up that Manny Fewe-Weboso has actually taken a head knock in some way. So Ollie Slightholme is still in his tracksuit at the far end of the field.
I think it's Tommy Freeman, actually.
Oh, right. Well, they've got the number wrong then.
Yeah.
Tommy Freeman, of course, 11. Manny Fewe-Weboso currently very confused. They're just trying to sort out which player it actually is. I mean, Ollie Slightholme will be coming on in some form.
Yeah, just a little pause here. Richard Hill, team manager, is looking up to the... He's got his headset on, but he's not 100% clear, as you just described there, Sarah, which number needs to come off. And quite rightly, you do not take anyone off the field unless you're absolutely crystal clear and you've got a replacement ready to go. You do not want to be on this field with 14 people.
OK, here comes Ollie Slightholme. He is on, and it is Manny Fewe-Weboso who has gone off there down the tunnel to have his HIA. Little bit of confusion there, but yes, the officials making sure they got it right. And an opportunity for Ollie Slightholme, only on his third cap, the Northampton man, but he's got a lot of fans of when he's flying forward. So where were we? We're at a line out on the far side, an England line out, bang on the halfway line. And Jamie George out on that far side, waiting for the numbers to line up to get it in. Jamie George, the Saracens man, of course, made England captain this season. He'll be looking to impress at the moment. We'll be talking about Lions a lot. He's already made a couple of tours, and there was an Australian hand in that attack. Referee says play on as it was loose on the floor. Here comes Kellaway looking for work off his wing. Goes down to ground. All of the back row from Australia in this. This is nice from them coming on the counter between the 10 and the 22 inside of England territory. They trail here at Twickenham. England 15, Australia 3. Middle of the park. It's a green and gold ball as Gordon looks up More support from the forwards who come round the corner. They track back and keep it in the centre of the field. Wilson goes once again. Gordon finds Lola Sayo. He has to run into heavy traffic himself. Didn't want to push it out towards the fringes as they just try and stay in that mid-channel for the time being, as we see a huge pump back there on Curry. He won't be used to that kind of hit coming in on him, as he was almost pushed backwards, almost towards a roly-poly, went back on his ankles, quick to his feet though, as Australia continue to pound forwards, but unable so far to get into that England 22. Don't think they've even been over into it just yet. Gordon, once again, looking for options on either side. This time we get to see Ikitau. Pushes back towards Valentini. Man with the big hair in the back row just picked up the John Eales medal. I can see that Tom Curry is down on the ground and he needs a little bit of help. The referee's blown his whistle and there is going to be a little treatment for Tom Curry. He has now got the medics around him at the moment. So there's going to be a bit of a pause in the game here as they just sort this out. But that's the first real attack that we have seen from Australia.
On the ball, just put it here so I know where you are.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Tom Curry has taken a knock and has stayed pretty still. So I think we're probably going to have a little bit of time here. Sarah, not a great position to put himself. I think it was into Angus Bell, who's got the right bit between his teeth. A couple of carries from the Australian prop. Big, huge hits. And there's a difference. There is a difference in this Australia side, the way that physically they seem to be just in a better place than the last time that I've seen this Australian side play. Particularly in that World Cup, they were dominated by the likes of Wales and Fiji up front, but there's a steeliness, there's a physicality there, dare I say there's a little bit of edge, a bit of nastiness about this Australian pack, and they wanted to have a go at England. And with that balance potentially that could come with that exciting back line, it does. I've been very, very impressed with Australia so far. I mean, England have played well. There's no question about that. 15-3, they're deserving of this lead. But you were asking to see Australia, Sarah, and that last passage of play, any international side would have been very proud of it.
It's England 15, Australia 3, 22 minutes on the clock here at Twickenham. We are having a pause in play here on 5 Sports Extra. A serious injury to Tom Curry, who went down. The medics are on very quickly. They've already brought on the stretcher. He's receiving treatment. They have moved him onto his back and they've put him in a neck brace. And I think they're just going to take their time of making sure that Tom Curry is okay in this. He's going to take no further part in this fixture. Alex Dongrant of Harlequins is already onto the field to play, so we're going to let them get on with what they need to do. The referee, Ben O'Keefe, is just having a little bit of a word there with Harry Wilson, if we just listen in.
You guys are working well, so let's just keep working together, right?
And the good news is that Tom Curry has just sat up, which will reassure everyone, and they're just picking up the stretcher, and I think he's actually going to walk off the field of play, so that will reassure anyone who was a little bit concerned about Tom Curry not moving there, but they're just going to take a little bit of time to get him off the field and check he's okay. We were talking there, Paul Grayson, about the Australian attack there. Where are the flashes coming from? Where are the strong points? We're going to say Lions toss so many times in this commentary. 4 tests for them to get this right before it is the Lions next summer.
Yeah, well, that's top of the list at the moment. The 2 things, counter-attack, and then in that passage of play, there was no great attacking shape, but what there was, Dawson's just touched on it for some physicality, strong carries from the front row. Valentini is a strong carrier, Wilson's a strong carrier. So if you can get some organisation behind physicality and you're good in broken play and from turnover ball, then you can be dangerous. They were pretty shapeless. They got stuck in the left-hand half of the field. They had their entire team in 35 metres of space, but they bumped England back 3 or 4 times as Tom Curry walks down the tunnel. Glad to say he walks down the tunnel. He was the recipient of one of those bumps from Angus Bell, sat him on his backside.
Just saw a replay of that, Grace, when you were having a chat. The Valentini on a carry. Tom Curry he got his head completely on the wrong side and got a left knee straight to the temple and was out before it even hit the ground. So that, I think, obviously all the medics saw that straight away, got on as soon as possible. It looks like it was a great recovery from the medics.
Okay, we're back underway then. It's a restart scrum for Australia. Lovely position halfway across the field, just outside of the England 22. They're trying to find a way in this time through right, unable to cross that special line that they really haven't got across into the 22 yet. Valentini just inches away, can't quite do it yet. England 15, Australia 3, 23 minutes on the clock. Comes back once again. This time we see McWright trying to fly forward. Wilson there in support as well. This time it comes back. They will deploy the backs once again into the hands of Swali'i. Batted back ball eventually ends up in the hands on this near side there of Peach. He is into the 22. Finally Australia make it. The better line of course would be the try line, but they'll take that for now. Forward this time through Tupou.
You're holding him. You're
Australia
holding him.
side to side, then back towards the middle. They love playing through that middle channel. Wilson, the captain, and a little bit of a dart goes around the corner from Gordon. Couple of metres made, a little bit Dawson-esque as he looked for a little bit of space either side of a ruck. Still Australian ball, placed backwards. Penalty in the midfield though. Not rolling away from England, and Australia with an opportunity to get some more points on the board.
Yeah, nice scrambled then defence from England, because Australia are throwing everything at them, batting the ball. It's like watching volleyball at times, sometimes with these players. Ordinarily it tends to send a little bit of panic into the opposition, but England are holding their structure really, really well. I quite like a little dart from the scrum half, as you mentioned there, so you don't see that very often, the dummy and go.
Well, this is a big call here from Australia. No interest at all coming in from Australia to look at the post, and when it's at 15-3, maybe you understand it. They need to rack up the scoreboard a bit quicker than they are. They've decided to go for the corner, and a bit of pressure coming now on this Wallabies line out. 10 metres out from the England line. They trail here by 12 at Twickenham, and they've made a big call early on. All eyes on Matt Fessler. Winning his 13th cap today, gets the ball in cleanly towards the front, and here comes the Wallaby charge. Remember, there's big man in there. Penalty advantage once again from Australia. They've got a free hit here. Gordon gets the ball out eventually into the hands of Ikitau. Little bit of footwork coming in from him. Down to the ground they go. They need quick distribution. Comes out in the end. This is Swali'i. Oh, they've got men on the outside as well. It will be put down by Wright. Well worked by Australia. England had no answer to that. And game on at Twickenham is England 15, Australia 8.
Joseph Swali'i creates the score with threat of pace, outside break, sleight of hand as they win the ball, quickly move it. He breaks to the outside, draws in England's last man, little finger roll basketball pass over the top. It's a walk in.
All clear,
There's just the tiniest hint of how good he can be.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'5" with arms like Mr. Tickle. It's like 8 feet when that ball is up in the air. Very difficult to stop that offload, but for me, George Furbank doesn't need to step in and make that tackle. I think that's reputational defence, reputational attack there, which is drawing in defence. Ollie Slightholme had the capabilities to tackle him from behind. George Furbank steps in to try and lock up top. Lovely kick from the touchline.
Really nice.
From Australia, and look, what's the score? What have we got now? 15-10. I mean, it doesn't feel like 15-10, that, Zara, does it?
It doesn't, but it is. And Australia rolled the dice there, going for that line out, and they have absolutely reaped the rewards. It's England 15, Australia 10, and we're saying, we talked about that little pass there for the assist there from Swali'i. It's worth saying he was age group representative for Australia at 5 sports: rugby union, rugby league, Aussie rules, athletics and basketball. So when we talk about him being an athlete, a little bit of basketball coming in there as the ball is knocked on from the restart. The first knock-on came from Australia, so we restart with an English scrum. And I'm just looking down at the technical area right now. Manny Fewo-Weboso, I think, has failed his HIA. So that means that Ollie Slightholme is on. England have also had to deploy Alex Dombrandt early as well. And the bench is going to be a little bit more carefully used now by England following those 2 changes.
And Borthwick will be glad they got a 5-3, because that the unscheduled change there where the player's taken a knock and he's gone off. If you're 6'2", yes, you've got some forward heft to spare, but you really are out of tactical changes. So having the extra man on the wing, in form, Ollie Slytome, like for like replacement almost, tremendously powerful ball carrier, top end speed to burn. Hopefully England give him an opportunity to run.
Coach's nightmare there. Joe Schmidt, Australian coach, will be furious. Great try, great conversion, get it back to 15-10. Right, come on Australia, get your exit. Trying to play from their own 22, which is fine when it's on, but that was so simply not the right play. Joe Schmidt will be cursing.
I don't want to give you wrong information. I'm keeping a close eye on Manny Fairway with Boso, who he is going to come back on. He came out, he put on the big jacket, and now, as England win a penalty at the scrum, he's now taken the jacket off, and I think he is going to actually rejoin the field of play. So I think he has passed the HIA. Apologies for any confusion as England line up this penalty. Well, that will be a little bit of a relief for England fans out there. A lot's gone on since Manny Fairway with Boso went off the field of play. So England 15, Australia 10, 29 minutes on the clock. And Marcus Smith has decided to kick this one at goal. Sensible decision considering that Australia have got that try, Paul Grayson?
It's a test match. You'd rather be 8 points in front than 5, so half an hour gone. It gives you the breathing space to play with a bit of freedom.
I think it gives you a little bit of insight as to what England are feeling on the pitch right now. They are aware of the threat of Australia. They're not sitting there thinking, do you know what, we kicked to the corner here, no problem. They know up front they've got a battle on, so every point so vital. Marcus
Smith, 18, 19 metres out from the far side, pretty much on the 22-metre line. That one bread and butter safely through, and it's a more comfortable scoreline for England once again. England 18, Australia 10, 30 minutes now on the clock as they lead once again. But this has been a tough half for England. What looked like pretty calm stuff. They were leading 15-3. All of a sudden, Australia strike back with a lovely, well-worked try, just showing what they can do in attack as they go for the restart. Itoje is not down, and Australia say, thank you very much, we will have that ball. A couple of gifts given to England, again to Australia as they come on the counter-ruck, as they were angry with that. Australia lose the possession, they just won back. Smith with a little bit of disguise there, thought he was going to kick the ball, managed to shuffle his way out of the defender, then get the kick away eventually as the ball's popped back inside, this time for Australia to Peach. He's approaching the halfway line. Australia with the ball. We've seen a lot more of England's attack than we saw last week, but we're seeing flashes of what Australia can do as well. The big man Tupou, known as the Tongan Thor, as they knock on the ball front, as they try and get that one away. And it's going to be another England scrum, and you do just wonder if the ball, there's huge bit of blood coming down the face there of Gordon. I think he might have to go in the blood bin for that. I don't know if they can take that one up quick enough.
Mario Itoje got his mitts there. Taniela Tupou running off the shoulder, getting Australia on the front foot, and then Mario managed to get his hand in there and reef the ball out. Is that a knock-on if it's reefed like that? Not sure.
Well, there were a couple of things there. I think Ben O'Keefe, England are getting away with a couple of breakdown issues there. England on that turnover drove over the ball. They just sealed the ball off. There's no way Australia can win that ball back, and that's a penalty to Australia. But crack on, play on with it. And on that occasion, great challenge for the ball from Mario Itoje, but he's going to rip the ball. He's reefing the ball away from the opposition. Therefore, that's not a knock-on. That's just play on as well. I don't know whether you saw from that kickoff.
Okay, we're going to reset.
Grace again, your man So Ali just. It's as if he sort of flies.
Yeah, it's got that Jordan hang time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can tell you the cameras are focused on that young man quite a lot, heavily involved then at that restart that England slightly mucked up. Right, a change here for Australia at scrum half. The claret that was going down the face of Jake Gordon, they can't deal on the field of play, so it's a blood replacement as we get to see Tate McDermott now come onto the field. You do feel there's a real tussle for scrum half. I mentioned a bit earlier that McDermott and Gordon, they're keeping Nick White out of this squad at the moment. They're feeling a little bit perhaps that maybe Nick White isn't quite as fast as he used to be. maybe giving an opportunity. I mean, Jake Gordon's not a young man at 31, but certainly got plenty of years in him still to go. Tate McDermott at 26, but a free kick here given to Australia from the scrum, and they take it quickly through Valentini. Valentini flying away. It's a really nice run. A good 12 metres made there by the back rower. Bit of a nuisance being made of himself there of George Martin to try and slow down this Australian attack, but they're getting so low to the ground, the Australians. England really having to get round the waist and drag them down to the floor to try and stop any kind of extra metres being made. Tupou pops off to no one, but somehow Ikitau managed to get there. He was alive to the threat and well hoovered up there. Oh, what a hole that was made half by the referee. Wilson will go over for Australia. I have to say, Ben O'Keefe slightly helped out the Wallabies there, but a try is a try, and Australia took their opportunity. McWright just onto the field there, sorry, McDermott just onto the field there and helping things out. It is Harry Wilson, the Wallabies skipper, that goes over. It's now a 3-point game. It could just be one if they get the conversion.
Yeah, tactically from Australia, whether this come from on the pitch or indeed off it. The tactics are from Australia, pick and go, get through the middle, one out runners. England are fanning out and they've got the midfield covered, but around the breakdown, Australia with McDermott coming on is just saying, do you know what, let's just test them, let's test England. And at the moment, England haven't got any answers.
Loliseo once again lines up for this one. Immaculate with the boots so far, his third attempt at goal. 10 metres out from the near side. He's taken it about 12 metres out as he goes between the posts. So it's a 1-point game here at Twickenham, and Ollie Lawrence is now making his way down the tunnel for what we can only assume is another HIA. Ollie Slightholme back on, and England are going to have to do a little bit of rearranging here, Paul Grayson.
I assume they'll go Freeman from his wing to outside centre. Slightholme will go on the left wing. Freeman plays a bit at 13 for Northampton now and again. Slade in that 12 position, so it shouldn't be too disruptive.
But at the same time, perhaps something they might not have rehearsed, considering the chopping and changing that we've had now. Of course, we lost Curry earlier on, if you're just joining us here. He took a head knock. He's permanently replaced by Don Brandt, who's out on the field now. So England 18, Australia 17. England looks so comfortable in the early stages of this half, but Australia are scrapping. They are fighting for everything. This, of course, a contest between two countries who have such a wonderful history across sport, not just in rugby union, as the ball goes high into the sky there, this time by McDermott, out of the field of play on the near side, and England perhaps just with a chance to gather themselves as they build a line out inside of the Australian half.
Well, the dynamics changed, of course, with the scoreboard and the way that Australia are playing, but with Tom Curry going off now, where's the jackal? Where's the jackal in the back row? Don Brandt's not necessarily going to do it. The balance is very different.
Well, Bennell not involved in that line-out, happy to line up in the centres and offer himself as he goes through the middle. Distribution by Spencer. Smith is there, gets it to Freeman. Freeman with the pass out wide. Slightholme, not really any room to do anything, has to track back inside to give England breathing room to recycle and go once again. Martin involved, he's offered himself a lot today as the big Leicester lock. This time it's Smith. He finds Slade, and now we've got Freeman. Hanging out on this near side wing was actually Itoje. He's there on his own at the moment. And still England going through the phases. They have a 1-point lead here at Twickenham on 5 Sports Extra. We've got just over 3 minutes now until the half-time whistle. Could Australia sneak something here and take the lead as they go in at half-time? Down to the ground the forwards go. Spencer, the Bath man, given the keys to the number 9 shirt following that injury to Alex Mitchell. He continues his rehabilitation from that neck injury. As Smith with the big pass out wide there to Slightholme. He's going to straighten up, hacks on the ball, the foot chases on. It's into the try area. It's going to go too long, surely. And they'll have to take it back.
22 or scrum, Harry.
And they've got a choice now here, Australia, of what they're going to do. 22 or scrum. And with just under 3 minutes on the clock here, England 18, Australia 17.
Yeah, and England just, as we touched on there with the changes and the restructuring in their back row and backs, you could see the shape of their attack, but not perhaps the fluency. I think sometimes also the variation in depth from Marcus Smith. Sometimes I find that he's way too deep when England have nudged on the front foot, almost as if he's organising the next passage of play and kind of forgets whereabouts he is, because England were moving forward in general there, and he got a ball fully, well, it was 2 strips of the Twickenham turf, 2 cuts of the Allianz Stadium strips, which is what, 8-9 metres deep, which is, you can't pile pressure on if you're standing that deep periodically.
Yeah, just recognising those opportunities with all of this disruption, so much going on in Marcus's mind. There's a lot to take on board with the reorganisation. And then as far as England are in defence, all of a sudden Australians, they're getting quick ball when they've got it, because no one's slowing them down. England have somehow got to sacrifice 1 or 2 players to say, let's slow this ball down. There's one team you don't want, whether it's because they're 18-17 up or whether they're 15-0 and you're playing in Sydney, the one team you do not want to give quick ball, it's Australia.
Well, it's a free kick to Australia from the scrum. Ben O'Keefe said that England were coming round, so it's Loliseo who's putting up the high ball. It's just a free kick, it's not a penalty. On that far side, waiting for his slight home. He had a couple of players running up towards him, but you've got to be so careful with this. The referees are hot on it. This is their work on for this Autumn Nations series, to make sure that there's no escorting. So England accused of protecting Ollie Slightholme there as Australian players were trying to contest the ball in the air. That's an easy penalty for Australia, and anyone who watched that match between Ireland and New Zealand last night, you know what we're talking about.
I just find that really strange with this law that comes in, and don't get me wrong, I want to give it a go, but if you're on the retreat, if you're a defender, there is no point in watching your own player catch the ball. Turn around and watch where the opposition are chasing the ball down and get out of the way. And you can't do that if you've got the back to the opposition.
The voice of Matt Dawson here on 5 Sports Extra as we see Rob Valentini crashing down the far side. More forwards pile themselves forward. Australia here, we've got 15 seconds to go towards the half-time whistle. It's the Wallabies trailing by 1 point at Twickenham as we see another little snipe round a corner there by Tate McDermott, and they're 15 metres out now, the Australians, closing in on 10 metres now. Can this England defensive line hold out until that whistle? The ball is down on the ground, there's a counter ruck going on by England, but Valentini has it, he acts as the distributor. Wilson, who was the try scorer, nearly through there was Suali'i. Little bit of footwork through the middle there by Ikitau. Straightened ball this time by Bell, who's going sideways and backwards. Tries to go once again. It's Itoja eventually brings Bell down, the big prop. There's another penalty advantage to Australia. They're going to go in. They've got 2 penalty advantage. One is straight in front. This is surely Australia's opportunity to take the lead for the first time in this fixture.
No, not yet. Wait, you've got options if you want.
They're just listening to the 2 penalty options.
There's one here, Onika.
I mean, it doesn't matter where they take
about the
it
same
from.
place. It's about here.
Phil Grayson.
And that's 5 times from memory that Australia have gone through the middle of the breakdown, either with the scrum half dummying and going. A couple of times Wilson has picked straight through the middle of the breakdown. New Zealand scored next to the breakdown when Beauden Barrett switched sides and Will Jordan just ran a switch. Clearly a work on for Joe Alad, the defence coach, the new defence coach, because they're bleeding some line breaks through the middle of their breakdown and he's tidying up.
Well, if you're coming out of the blocks fast, you've got to be, you're twitchy, aren't you? You're ready to get out of the blocks.
Okay, Australia take the lead at Twickenham on the half-time whistle. It's England 18, Australia 20, and you have to say England started so well. They played with such strength until around the 20-minute mark where unfortunately Tom Curry had to go off. Alex Dombrandt is on. And it was from that second 20 minutes that all of a sudden Australia just started scrapping. They've got a couple of tries through Wilson. And now Loliseo going over for that penalty right at the end. And you just have to say, Australia, they want this. Of course they want this. And England are not awake and alive to this.
England completely dominated early on. Looked like they were going to really pull away and put Australia to the sword. Scored a sensational try with the Marcus Smith grubber through for Ollie Lawrence. And then some brilliant handling in contact from the front row and the back row. Chandler Cunningham South scoring out wide. Australia will be fed up that they got caught from a quick tap penalty when they were on their own line, everybody waiting for a kick at goal, and England tapped it and went quick and scored another try. And Australia at that point looked meek, didn't they, Dawes? It almost looked like they were going to accept a hammering, but the last 20 minutes has been different.
Well, all of a sudden it turned into international rugby. Referees' decisions, injuries, disorganisation, a loss of momentum, opposition having a moment, individual moments. It's never going to be 15 players going through the motions, having dominance, scoring 3 tries, 2 tries, woohoo, away you go, and England will be winning by 20 points to 3 at half time. It's a big half-time session down there in the changing room for Steve Borthwick, because he's just got to slightly realign, not necessarily the players, but just the mindset of how they're going to play. It's pretty simple. We are a few metres away from where the coaches are sitting, and we can see a distinct change in the way that Australia are playing with the ball. There is no excuses for England to be falling foul of that picking and going through the middle, and then they need to lock up Sawali in the midfield, and they don't need to be flash and fancy about it. Someone needs to get stuck into it and make a big hit, and at the moment all I'm seeing is people trying to bat it down, go high, jockey them out of position. He needs a welcome into rugby union to say this is how we do it, a bit old school.
This is 5 Sports Extra. This is the Autumn Nations series. We've got quite the test match here at Twickenham. England 18, Australia 20 after 40 minutes. We're going to take a short break as we just remind you, of course, what happened last night, because Ireland's unbeaten home record was ended by the All Blacks in Dublin. Andy Farrell's men, they were looking for a 20th straight win at the Aviva, but New Zealand, they followed up the win at Twickenham with a first win in Dublin for 3 years. Ireland's Grand Slam winner Tommy Bowe and correspondent Chris Jones were there for 5 Live.
Cheers, Sarah. Yeah, Ireland 13, New Zealand 23. Highly anticipated game. Amazing atmosphere around Dublin, all building up to what the Ireland fans hoped would be a 20th straight win at the Aviva Stadium. But Tommy Bowe, it all fell a bit flat kind of on and off the pitch, and New Zealand in the end deserved winners.
Yeah, sure did. Ended up being a bit of a damp squib on a Friday night. Huge excitement going into this match. Ireland, of course, the #1 team in the world, up against New Zealand. Little bit of bad blood between the two sides, certainly brought up in the media in the build up to this match. The Irish supporters, a Friday night match, the Guinness was flowing, everybody in flying form. The fireworks, everything before the match all seemed to be going right, but as soon as the whistle went, it all fell a bit flat. And Andy Farrell, for his team, going for their 20th win in a row in the Aviva Stadium, certainly they never really fired a shot, and that's what they'd be most disappointed with. A lot of unforced errors. There was a lot of question marks going into this game. Were they undercooked? There are a lot of guys who were picked in the team starting and on the bench, hadn't played a huge pile of rugby going into this match, but Andy Farrell decided to stay loyal to them. I'd say he'll question that now. I think he's probably looking at it and thinking maybe I made the wrong call, because certainly they spent the week in Portugal last week. It looked like they were expected to be playing in Portuguese conditions, but it was a Friday night in Dublin. The rain was coming down and Ireland didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, we'll talk about New Zealand in a moment, because that's another really big win. They've won in London, they've won in Dublin, and given how sort of close the hemispheres are, and as you mentioned there, Tommy, Ireland are world #1s, that is a big old win for New Zealand. Their first win in Dublin in 8 years, and they go to France with a spring in their step for another huge showdown next Saturday night in Paris. 9-6 at the break, and New Zealand had a lot of that first half, didn't they? And then actually the only period where Ireland did look a bit like their normal selves, or the selves we were used to through 2022, 23 and 2024 on the whole. But after scoring that Van der Fleer try, and with Geordie Barrett in the sim, but they couldn't really keep up the momentum, could they?
Well, that was it. They went into the Sheds 9-6 behind, but Andy Farrell would have been delighted with that, because New Zealand had the upper hand. All the momentum was going their way in that first half, and the fact that they held New Zealand out from scoring a try, they would have been very happy with. and of course Jordy Barrett getting that yellow card just before half-time. So you could see Andy Farrell at half-time. There was a lot of finger pointing going on. There was a lot of pointing at the badge. You could see he was trying to remind the players how much it meant, how the supporters were there expecting to see a bit more effort, a little bit more efficiency. And in the first 10 minutes, 5 minutes, we certainly saw that. But they had one opportunity, they scored it. They had another opportunity very quickly after that. They turned it over, and that was it really for the rest of that half. New Zealand got themselves back up to a full complement, 15 players. And the efficient, ruthless Ireland that we're so used to seeing over the last 2, 3, 4 years under Andy Farrell it looked a long way off. And New Zealand don't have to play wonderfully to be able to pull out a win, because they have such game breakers, they have such amazing players who can score from nothing. Ireland don't really have that. They need to be this well-oiled machine.
Yeah. And when the machine starts to splutter,
and when a few kind of cogs don't seem to be going too well, they really look like they got jammed.
Yeah, so would you put that down to, Tommy, the fact that Ireland were really scruffy, they couldn't look after the ball, that, and you've used the word bang on, efficiency, all that stuff that we're so used to with Ireland. They look after the ball so well. Their speed of ball is excellent. They never got going through the phases. New Zealand carried the ball away way more. They went through double the number of metres. They made Ireland made one clean line break. That would have been the Bundy break for the Jordy Barrett yellow. To New Zealand, all of the tail of the tape is
shocking,
no wonder New Zealand were 10-point winners in the end.
Yeah, and they were deserved in the end because they kept the scoreboard ticking over. Ireland didn't. They didn't take their opportunities. But exactly as you say, they weren't efficient. And normally you see Ireland, they're the best team in the world with short, sharp passes that they run to the line. They have 3 options, and it's these little tip-ons on the outside, a tip-on out on the inside or out the back. It's very, very hard to defend, but today those little tip-on passes were either checking the runner, they were kind of hitting the shoulder, or they were... just the efficiency, the accuracy. Actually, that's what it was. It's the accuracy that you're used to seeing with this Irish team on those passes. They have their players always on their front foot, but today the pass was that little bit behind. It checked one runner, then all of a sudden it had a knock-on effect the whole way around it, and Ireland just coughed up, made small mistakes from that, and New Zealand capitalised on it. And to be fair, listen, I think Nick Berry as well. I think there might be a few question marks about the referee. I think that there was a lot of penalties. The game was very slow around the scrum area, around the breakdown, and for the exciting match that we were expecting to see, it just never really got going.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Berry had a bad game by any stretch, but when the game does lack fluency, the players take the blame, and then also the officials are sort of part of whether the game has any fluency, but certainly not obviously Berry's fault if they're not knocking the ball on the players.
Of course not.
One more on Ireland in a sec, but on New Zealand, Tommy, they've won 2 now. They've won against England away. They won against Ireland away. As you said, Jamie McKenzie got player of the match, kept the scoreboard ticking over. One of his long-range goals when the ball fell off the tee was pretty genius. And a bit like at Twickenham, they've come up with some magic plays when it really matters. And people will always question, is this a vintage All Blacks team? They won 3 out of 6 in the Rugby Champ, so they're not the Dan Carter, Richie McCaw crop. But that was some try, wasn't it? The break down the edge, Talaire and Ardy Surveyor, and then the way Roygaard hurled it open, and even though a couple of bounce passes, the way Satiti and Amoa both picked the ball up on the bounce, that skill level is what we're used to seeing from vintage All Blacks teams.
And it was a fantastic try to go from side to side, and normally you see the crossfield kick to kind of open it up for Jordan, and he is just an unbelievable try scoring record. I kind of think with how dangerous their back 3 are, I'd love to see them get more ball in hand. I think they're a long way from the vintage All Blacks at the minute. Ireland were very poor tonight and will certainly want to go back to the drawing board. I don't really think New Zealand were a whole pile better. Yes, they had the upper hand. Yes, they have the likes of the Satitis, the Ardy Surveyors, who can get them unbelievably over the gain line. But if you're kind of looking at this team with Scott Robertson, a new coach, can you pinpoint what the game plan he is trying to evolve at the minute? People are saying that he's trying to get them back to a vintage All Black. I certainly wouldn't say. I'd say they're still a long way from that. There's a huge amount of kicking. I don't know whether that's down to the rules and trying to capitalise on this new rule that's coming in to allow the contest in the air, but I think they're still a work in progress. But listen, they came to Dublin. they got the job done. They, of course, come away from Dublin with a smile on their faces and move on to France. What a challenge. But so far, 2 from 2 on their Northern Hemisphere tour.
And fair play, you've got to say. So last one on Ireland, and just been thinking, look, they're still number one in the rankings, and I'm sure that the rankings will change over the course of the autumn, and it's pretty congested and pretty tight at the top. Their 2024 is quite a difficult one to judge at the moment, because they've got Argentina, Fiji and Australia to come. They can win those 3 games, and still we might have questions about Ireland, because the big challenge was the All Blacks, and they didn't deliver in this one, and they could still win 3 out of 4 of the autumn, and we'd still go, well, how do we judge Ireland and their 2024? They've had some unbelievable epic wins, Marseille and the one in South Africa, but also lost at Twickenham, were scruffy, I thought, at home to Scotland in a game we did back at the end of March when they won the title, and lost to New Zealand. So I wonder how, when Andy Farrell goes off to the Lions, whether there will be a little bit of transition coming for this team, because they've managed to keep a lot of this group together for a good number of years now, and it's going to be really interesting over the next 12 months, especially post the Lions tour, just how I think this Ireland team looks, say, this time next year compared to what it looks like now.
He's been extremely loyal to an awful lot of his stalwarts. You think of the bench, the likes of the Peter O'Mahony's, the Conor Murrays, the Cian Healy's. These guys haven't played a whole pile of rugby for their provinces, but still Andy Farrell has picked them probably against the more informed younger players who would be bursting to try and get an opportunity. So when Andy Farrell steps away at the end of this autumn series, he of course takes over the reins of the Lions, is going to be keeping an eye. Maybe the opportunity is for Simon Easterby, who's going to take over this Irish team going into the Six Nations. Maybe it's his opportunity to try and bring through some new younger players. But as you say, with the question marks go back to not just Ireland. You got to think about the 11 starters from this team coming from the Leinster team. There's still an awful lot of question marks over this Leinster team, because as successful and as amazing as these players are, and as that team have been, they haven't won a trophy in a number of years. When the crunch came on, when the big matches, the finals, the semi-finals come, when the Toulouses, the La Rochelles, you think the New Zealands in the World Cup, the New Zealand today, there's certainly question marks now coming over the big matches. Can they perform in the really one-off need to win games? And that comes down to a mentality, because there wasn't any lack of effort today, there wasn't any lack of ability today, but there certainly wasn't the sort of mental performance that you would expect, because it was lack of concentration, a lot of the mistakes tonight.
Yeah, and it's getting ahead of ourselves, because they've got a lot of rugby still to play this autumn, but it does really set up the Six Nations already. They've won 2 in a row. Very few teams, if ever, go 3 in a row, and yeah, as you said, there'll be a bit of turnover in the squad. They've got a great core of players in their 20s, but others are ticking towards their early mid-30s. Fascinating stuff. Great win for New Zealand. One for another day.
There's lots of games still to go.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But another, whether, again, to make the point, whether this is a great All Blacks team or not, and sometimes, as you said, Tommy, you can watch them in the middle of the park and think they're not up to much. Those are 2 absolutely outstanding wins to do at Allianz Stadium and Aviva Stadium. So fair play, New Zealand. Okay, let's talking about Allianz Stadium. Back to you at Twickenham, Sarah.
Well, there you go. Our rugby union correspondent Chris Jones speaking with Tommy Bowe after Ireland lost to New Zealand last night at the Aviva Stadium. 13 points to 23, and of course ending that 19-test winning record they had at home. Right then, we're focusing on everything happening at Twickenham, and there is a lot going on. It's England 18, Australia 20. We've still got 40 minutes to play. In the first 20, it looked like England had this test match. They looked so comfortable, and then the fight back from Australia in the second 20. We are in for a right royal scrap. 40 minutes to go here on 5 Sports Extra. I'm Sarah Orchard, alongside me 2003 World Cup winners Matt Dawson and Paul Grayson, as once again Australia managed to regather the restart. They really worked on that. As the skipper for Australia, Wilson, goes in to get the ball. Tupou now down on the ground, still recycled. Lola Sayo, the fly half, has to take it into contact himself. Just keeping an eye out to see who's in this England back line. We're keeping an eye out for Ollie Lawrence, who went off for an HIA. He is back in that line, so he has passed that, so he'll resume duties wearing the 13 shirt. As Don Brandt goes back to gather, he had to replace Tom Curry in the first half after he took a really nasty head knock that ended his test after just 20 minutes. Ellis Genge now, the big Bristol prop, he flies forward as England are playing inside of their own half. In this second half, England are playing from right to left, and they've got it, and they need to get out of where they are at the moment. And we were discussing what England might do if they would shut up shop, and that's what we're just trying to keep a close eye on now. Are they going to try and go up in threes, or is Charnor Cunningham himself, who's already got a couple of tries in this fixture, going to start flying forward? Better from England at the right end of the field between the 10 and the 22. Smith gets it away to Freeman, who's hanging out in the midfield. He's quickly wrapped up there. Big arms coming in by Nick Frost of the Brumbies. Midfield, George Martin down on the ground, still staying in the centre for now. Spencer is appealing for the penalty. He's got to be a bit careful because he was caught out there a couple of times when they were playing against New Zealand, appealing to the referee rather than getting on with things. Martin once again pushes forward, but locked outside of the 22 for now. Once again, the white shirts of Steve Borthwick's England side. Ollie Lawrence flying forwards. This time it goes to Itoje, perhaps not quite been as vocal and noisy as we saw him having that impact last week. Spun out ball, getting involved this time. Furbank had it, him with the distribution, and it's loose, and Australia have it. It popped out the back there of that ruck, and Australia say thank you very much. Wilson once again, middle of the field. That collision you can just hear on the referee's microphone there. With Itoje in contact as the high ball is put up by Australia. Smith is back just outside of the England 22 for gather. He's got Fewe Woboso on his shoulder. He goes towards the halfway line, head down straight into heavy contact. This passage of play has gone on now for 2.5 minutes as the high one is put up. Contested ball taken cleanly by Lola Seo. He had just got down to ground, so referee Ben O'Keefe of New Zealand is happy. Australia have got it back on their own 22. Now Henry Slade was in there, he's knocked on the ball. Little bit of a hack through there by Kellaway. There's no one there as it's just bobbled out on this near side. So the advantage was Australia's there, but it's gone out of play on the near side, and we'll restart them with an England lineup. Long passage of play.
And breathe, Sarah.
Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, both teams happy to keep the ball on the field. Another restart win for Australia. Soaliti flying like an eagle, pinching the ball from Maro Itoje regularly. Enterprising play from both teams.
Didn't that happen in the first half? Wasn't the first passage of play like 2.5 minutes? Set themselves up for a tough 40.
Long over the top there by George. Was it planned? Because Henry Slade was there, arguably just mopping things up that didn't quite connect. Jamie George, England captain, flying forward once again. These two sides actually last met back in Twickenham back in 2021. It's been a while. Big win for England that day, 32 points to 15 as it comes down for Australia inside their own 22. Mark is called, sent straight back though. As Marcus Smith receives the ball, good 10 metres outside of the England 22. Furbank on his shoulder, he's going to put it high one. No, he just goes for a little disguise on the ball, and he's gone very upright into Australian players. Somehow the ball has been hacked on. Jamie George is the man chasing it as Australia push it towards the left-hand side. Then straight in once in. Oh, this is nice here by the Australians. Wright has it once again. He knows there's no one at home for England. Everyone now is a foot chase. Smith just gets there. He's been absolutely thrown down to the earth with a clatter of Australian gold shirts going over the top of him. Who's going to come out with this? Australia want it, England want it. It's Australian ball. 5 metres from the England line. England come back and contest. They've somehow got their hands on it. England there, no one at home. Australia saw it, and now they've got the whole length of the field to try and do something. This looks exhausting rugby for both sides to play. 44 minutes on the clock, long way to go. And the story of this will be, of course, whatever state England are in for that final 20, because that is when they tend to struggle in these test matches. It's a 2-point game with the Wallabies leading.
England had the ball around the halfway line. Looked as if they could potentially set up an attack. Marcus Smith's just sat back in the pocket, shouting and pointing and organising people to come round the corner. Spencer went with the box kick. It was too long. easy mark for Wright, the Australian fullback, who played it quickly. Smith went on a counter-attack when he should probably have gone to the air with the ball, got stripped. Australia make the break and go 80 metres up the field. England showing signs of reverting to type with the box kick from the halfway line.
Taniela Tupou is off there for Australia. On in his place there is Ala Alatoa. England thought they were just going to try and sneak that one down on the ground, but they ended up knocking it on in the process of trying to go for the intercept. Referee happy it's just an intercept as Australia have it. Advantage over you here there from Ben O'Keefe as it's an Australian attack outside of the England 22 once again. Footwork coming in by the forwards, trying to get every inch out of the pitch as we see back onto the field of play is Jake Gordon. So he actually had to go off in the first half. He had a lot of blood around his hairline. So you got to see Tate McDermott coming on, but Gordon back on. So they still got that option on the bench. Highwind put up. Oh, really nice stuff there by Swaliti. He flew into the air, tapped it back down. Australia trying to work some magic here. It's Kellaway now who's out on this wing on his own. He bides his time really well for the support to arrive. Eventually it does. Gordon now has it, an Australian playing inside of the England 22. Don Brandt with the tackles as they try and find something. Cunningham South saves England's bacon. He saw a loose ball in the floor. He quickly jumped onto it. Certainly looking like one of England's more lively players at Twickenham today. England 18, Australia 20, 46 minutes on the clock and 5 Sports Extra. If you're looking for the football, head over to 5 Live Sport. Ian Dennis at the moment is bringing you full commentary of Southampton on their travels at Wolves. As the ball goes out of play on this near side, we will restart with an Australian line-out.
Just to the brilliance. Another piece of brilliance from this rugby league convert. So Ali, I mean, Paul Grayson was talking about before the game and waxing lyrically about all these incredible skills and people worrying about his defence. Don't worry about his defence, just watch him attack, Grace.
Honestly, I didn't undersell him. I went all in. He has just some sublime touches in this game. Doesn't look like a nervous debutant, does he?
Come on!
Should we just reiterate, this is his first ever game of professional rugby union?
Yeah, last time he played he was at school. He's been playing in the NRL. He made his NRL debut when he was 17 years old, had to get special dispensation for that. He's been spent a lot of money on by the Australian Rugby Union to bring him in. A lot of people thought he'd be playing out on the wing. No, Joe Schmidt has gone, do you know what? Let's throw him at 13. Let's see what he can do. As Ben Spencer has the ball for England, still trailing by 2 points here at Twickenham to the Wallabies as Freeman just manages to hold onto the ball by his fingertips. Don Brandt gathers the ball, just about places it backwards for England on the halfway line. As Bath Ben Spencer, formerly at Saracens, getting his chance in this number 9 shirt, has to go and digging for the ball 2 times. This time he's going to try and set something up. One of the other things that the referees are keeping a close eye on is no guards can just stand either side of the ruck at the moment. So a lot of pressure on these box kicks from the scrum halves as Tom Wright is quickly clattered down to the earth there by chasing England players. Have they turned over the ball? Don Brandt has it, places it backwards. Oh, was that onside by Australia? Referee says yes, absolutely fine. We don't play protect the 9 at the moment here. In this Autumn Nations series, it's been trialled if you've been watching the English Premiership, but not here now, so Australia within their rights to do that. George Martin outside the 22, ball's gone forward, advantage to Australia, so any kind of go forward that England thought they can get, lost in a moment as it's hacked down the field by the Australians. Tommy Freeman going back all the way inside the England 22, chasing hard on it though is Matt Jorgensen, who's now onto the field of play. He replaced Dylan Peach about 1 minute ago. And it's cleared on the far side, but all England done is given a lovely line out to the Wallabies just outside of the England 22, far side of the field.
I mean, this is what worries me, that half time. The coaching staff have looked at that first half and then said, right guys, this is what we're going to do in the first half, this is what we're going to do in the second half. We're going to set up this really exciting box kick strategy that has not worked in any of our big games whatsoever, and let's do it again. I mean, what are they thinking? England's quality this week and last week has been when they have attacked with control. I can't get my head around it.
The Voice of Matt Dawson here on 5 Sports Extra. Treatment going on at the moment to the England captain Jamie George in the middle of the field. They can't get going again until he's okay. It's England 18, Australia 20. I saw a wry smile go off your face a moment ago, Paul Grayson. What was the thoughts flying through your mind?
Just the sort of simmering Matthew Dawson sitting next to me as the second box kick went up. You could predict it. You could write it down and say, actually, when England wobble, they'll go within themselves. They'll start to do what they did last 20 minutes last week, invite pressure onto themselves. And where are we? Australia now from the counter-attack, 25 yards out from England's try line with a throw-in.
Well, the narrative was that this was meant to be not straightforward for England. No one would say that as Australia come away with the ball down the far side wing. They knew it was going to be an arm wrestle, but I don't think they were expecting to be trailing with still half an hour to go. England 18, Australia 20. It's an Australian attack inside of the England 22 as it goes back to Valentini. He's the winner of the John Eales medal 2 years in a row now. Back rower really making a name for himself. Can't miss him with the big hair either. As lovely run coming in this time by Angus Bell. 5 metres left for the Australians to go. What a statement now if they go for the corner. That's a try for Australia. What a moment for them. And it's the first try in Australian shirt for Jeremy Williams, who extend their lead now. It's England 18, Australia 25. Half an hour to play. England have problems and they've got a player down in the corner as well.
Australia with a trick line out, dummy to put a player up and then throw to the front. They get the offload away. Fessler carries it down the short side, and England broken again through the middle of their breakdown defence. They stayed on the short side after that, and then a winger's finish from the second rower.
Just because of the injury and the stuff here, just slow it down.
Feo Aboso is the one that stayed down as well on the contact. It is going to go to TMO. It's going to be close because I've got a feeling there is a left boot, the outside of a left boot of an Australian that might be on the touchline before the ball is grounded.
Okay, let us listen into the TMO. Matt Dawson saw it straight away.
Grounded before potentially that foot's in touch, please.
So, but all that aside, Sarah, you know, it's centimetres away from being a good try if this is disallowed. Australia playing rugby. They are taking England on. And by the way, they're in the lead 20 points to 18, and they are playing rugby and they are trying to bang nails into the coffin. Whereas England are trailing and playing a negative style of rugby, which just is not how they want to play. As players, this has come from the sideline. It's so frustrating.
Jamie, we got it.
Let's listen in. All eyes currently on the left foot at the moment of Williams. Was it out of play before the ball was grounded? Your thoughts, Paul Grayson?
It is very tight from the angle that we're seeing here, almost simultaneous. Hints of 2007 World Cup final Mark Cueto. It's that tight. Australia would say try, England would say no try.
I mean, from that rear view, Grace, it looks like his foot is in touch.
Yeah.
From the end on view, because of the shadows of the players around him, the TMO can't see from the front on camera, but from the rear end camera, if it is the same
so he's always
still,
in position. We don't have any issue at the grounding. It's just their back foot.
On the same still, it looks like he's in touch.
So it's still the left leg that everyone is focusing in on at the moment, and they really need a split screen is what they need to actually establish the timing of this happening. And as all this is going on, Manny Feo-Barbosa is still down on the ground at the moment, receiving treatment in the corner. They're just trying to watch again. This is going to involve Ollie Slightholme once again, who has been on and off the field, and I think this is the third time he's coming on after a couple of HIAs and injuries that we've already had in this.
It's not clearly conclusive here that foot's on the line at the same time.
Okay, so you're telling me that our on-field decision stands because there's no clear evidence that the foot touches the touchline before he grounds the ball, so we stick with our on-field decision.
Yeah, that's correct, Ben.
Okay, try stands. Restart the clock.
Twickenham won't like this.
We are there. Well,
There you go, the slight boo goes up around the crowd, not clear or conclusive, and Ben O'Keefe had given the try. Now they are allowing the conversion to go on here, but there won't be a quick restart because, as I said, Faywood Bosa, he's actually sat up now in the corner. Ollie Slightholme's running onto the field. I don't think he's noticed that Lola Sayo is trying to take the kick at the moment. I don't think he's going to interfere with it too much, so they're going to let that one just slide. Still 44 seconds on the clock as Lola Sayo gives a hell of a wallop. That one not to be added to the Australian tally, but England 18, Australia 25. We've got 29 minutes to play, and let's be honest, nobody expected this at the start of this fixture.
No, not the odds setters with the bookmakers. England comfortable favourites. They're up against it now, but they've got half an hour to sort it out.
Is half an hour going to be enough for Australia? They could start winding their way up through the gears. They had a really tough rugby championship, of course, got that one win over Argentina. That was away by 1 point, but then they got thumped by them the week after. Little bit of footwork coming in here by Australia. Oh, that's so nice from Wright as he's got support on his shoulder as well. It's been hacked on by Lola Sayo. Australia are here to play. England are just trying to mop things up permanently now. All of a sudden the ball back down inside of the England 22. There's no one ever there. They're having to turn the whole time to try and get the ball back. Australia attacking now, 6 metres to go. They already lead at the moment by 7. Could they extend that further? Valentini, he drives forward once again. England at 6s and 7s, penalty advantage. England off their feet. Australia with a free hit here to try and get 7 rather than just 3. Head goes down this time by McWright. He's pushed backwards and the England players have to hold him up. They do, they'll come back for the penalty.
16, not supporting body weight.
It's the same break, isn't it? There was a pass back to Wright to clear the ball out of his own 22, felt some pressure, stepped off his right foot, headed back towards the breakdown. Another clean line break within the first 2 defenders either side of the ruck, which has been England's Achilles heel when Australia have got the ball.
I think the Aussies have done their homework, as you would expect. They are, always have been, always will be, full of brains. They might not necessarily have the brawn and the physicality, but they have the brains. And the analysis that they have done on England when Australia are in their own 22, they obviously don't believe that England are concentrating on their defence when they're in Australia's 22, and it's a little bit lacklustre, it's a little bit disjointed, and Australia are backing themselves, they're backing their individuals to break those lines and see what they can do. They have come here with a very deliberate strategy, given the individuals that they have, and England unfortunately yet again need someone to step up and just get control of the team and go through their processes.
Lola Sayo lines this one up, and there we go, that is through. Listen to this scoreline, England 18, Australia 28. They've got a 10-point lead, and as Lola Sayo was just lining that up, I took my headphones off just to listen to Twickenham, and they are quiet right now. I think they are shocked.
15-3 England were up. I mean, goodness me, 25 points to 3 back.
What is going on? Steve Borthwick will be a very nervous England head coach right now with 53 minutes on the clock. His team trailed by 10 points by a side currently ranked 9th in the world, but this is a side coached by Joe Schmidt. He was brought in by Australia to do a job to rebuild them once again after the chopping and changes they've had in coaches. They went from Rennie, they went to Jones, that didn't work out. Now Schmidt is in, as all of a sudden we get to see Furbank flying through, and England are going to have to do something quickly here. Ollie Lawrence then, hands on the ball, big hand off on him as Swali'i tries to take him down. Somehow Lawrence is still going as he pushes forward inside of Australian territory. 10 metres over the line. Cowan Dickey is also onto the field. What kind of impact can he make now? Itoje, and there is Australian players over the top of that. It's a penalty advantage though. England have managed to hold on to that. He wasn't happy with how the Australians were going into that ruck. So they've got a penalty advantage here, England, as Cowan Dickey is in there. The Sale man trying to make an impact, but they will come back. And this is kickable. It's a big decision here. What do England do? 10 points down. They didn't release the tackle play.
you feel like this England side need to be behind to win the game. And that sounds ridiculous, but I can't at the moment, as a fan, I can't trust this England side to be ahead and finish it off.
Big decision. England are kicking for the corner. They're not interested in threes. They want more than that. And here's the first real platform. You have to say they've had this entire second half to try and do something here. A line out, 10 metres out from the Australian line. They trailed by 10. We can't stress that enough here. This isn't panic stations, but this is certainly stressful, Paul Grayson.
Yeah, it is, and a bit more stressful than it needs to be. It's not a super strength that Marcus Smith is line kicking for penalties. He should be 6 or 7 metres out, not 17.
Cowan-Dickie with his first throw-in since he's come onto the field, taken cleanly in there by Leicester's Martin. He comes down to the ground safely. So far that maul is crabbing sideways. It's certainly not going forwards yet. There's the first warning. Remember, we're not playing one and use it, because that law not being trialled here in this Autumn Nations series is finally England. They're going to have to use that one and get it out. Ben Spencer's asked for the switch of direction. Smith is there. He's flying round. He's got support from Slightholme. It's the grubber through. Slightholme goes! Slightholme scores! Ollie Slightholme, his first ever try for England. How important could that be? England are creeping back into this. Well-worked try. England 23, Australia 28, still with a conversion to come.
And that is a super strength of Marcus Smith. As the maul's going on, it crabs sideways, it goes still. He breaks back without the ball to the short side, takes Slightholme with him. Smith then takes the ball flat to the line, knowing that there's nobody in behind. Lovely deft touch off the outside of his right foot. 2 bounces on the floor, pops up for Slightholme, who wins the race against his former club teammate Andrew Kellaway. Lovely touch by Smith.
It's as if he was. It's a bit like that sort of that Terminator feel, that lens with all the statistics that are going on in front of you. As where can I go? Can I step love? Can I pass? Can I? Oh no, the right option is just a little grubber through, and in a split second.
Okay, Marcus Smith was 6 from 6 from the boot last week. That one's gone to the left-hand side of the upright. So it remains England 23, Australia 28. 57 minutes on the clock. That was a well-worked try by England, who gambled by going for the line out when they could have taken the penalty.
Intent. Matt just touched on it. England were behind, we've got to do something. They immediately play some decent rugby, win a penalty, kick it to the corner, attack with intent, score a try. Make that the norm, the default setting. That's how to play international rugby.
Worth saying is we actually look at some of the stats on the screens in front of us. When it comes to clean breaks, England have had 5, Australia have had 10. Shows you a little bit about how little attack we've seen at times from England. They can actually string something together. From the restart, England have the ball inside of their own half. As we hear swing low ring out around Twickenham, it's the first time we've really heard it, as they try and G their team on here. As the high ball comes up from Spencer out the back of that maul, gathered in the end by Tom Wright, who's had a pretty good game, you have to say, from fullback for the Wallabies, as Gordon sends the ball down the back line. Here he comes. Suaalii, bit of footwork, he's eventually put down on the ground. Pushed out towards the left-hand side. Still Australian ball. Forwards just holding on to it. Gordon now. Really nice run out of the side. Oh, they offload there. Can they keep it in hand? Oh, it's been juggled ever so slightly by the Wallabies. That could have been off and away if they could have just held the ball a bit longer. Oh, they're all about attack there, the Wallabies, but the penalty on the floor is given away by the Wallabies. That was a lovely attack down that left-hand side of the field. They couldn't finish it off, though.
I mean, don't get me wrong, England scrambled superbly well, but they win that penalty, and England are celebrating. It's like, guys, calm down. That is a blink away from a 7-pointer there, with Jorgensen running under the sticks. Yeah, what one fumble of the ball, and it's a turnover, and England nick it. Brilliant play, but just give the focus, get the focus back. It seems all a bit razzle-dazzle and not focus on the jobs in hand for England. Now 43 metres from their own line, go through the drill. They just smashed Australia back in the rolling maul, suck the energy and the life out of Australia, and then use the skills of Marcus Smith and Slade and Furbank to run them ragged. It's a simple process.
No, there was one of your goal
Okay,
players
changes
between
here
the
for
net, round the
England.
neck, so it's a bit
Ezekwe is coming onto the field. George Martin goes off. Couple of changes also for Australia. They changed their hooker. So Fezler goes off. Coming on his place is Penga Amosa. Also coming onto the field into the second row is Salakai Lotto, a name that a lot of people will know from his time at Northampton, of course, as he slots in. Far side of the field will restart with an England line-up. It's inside of the Australian... Sorry, it's inside of their own half, though, by about 5 or 6 metres.
Okay, we'll restart. Time on.
Sells Luke Cowan-Dickie, just spins the ball around that. I should just telegraph, if you want to hear from Luke Cowan-Dickie, go back on your BBC Sounds feed for the Rugby Union Weekly that Chris Jones did from Girona. Brilliant interview with Luke Cowan-Dickie and the journey he's been on the last couple of years to get back in an England shirt. High ball put up by Smith, gathered out on that far side wing. Left-hand side of the field, white shirts pile in and they nearly managed to drag to touch, but they turn the ball over in the process. This is still England ball, just outside of the Australian 22. Spencer has to take it slowly because his own players are falling on top of it. Genge then has to straighten. He's got support outside of him, unable to be taken by Dombrandt, who manages to knock on the ball and send it out of play on the far side. So the option is given to Australia of what they're going to do here.
Line out. Line out called, England.
And Australia opt for the line-out.
Australia ball.
Nice kick from first phase from England. Won the ball cleanly. Nick Ezekwe on. Smith hoisted it. England rattled the breakdown, forced Tom Wright to leave the ball behind. Good pressure.
That was a really well-worked line-out by the Wallabies, right to the bag. Oh, but then they managed to muck it up at the other end when they try and get it away. England pounce on it. They have it again. England 23, Australia 28. Holding on the floor there by England on the 61-minute mark. Australia get another chance because it's getting a bit scrappy from both sides here at the moment. I can see that Harry Randall and George Ford are getting ready to come on. And the boos you are hearing from the crowd is for that change they've seen. There's absolutely no reason for that whatsoever.
No, there isn't. Of course there's no reason, but in the same breath, it's 62 minutes gone. I seem to remember watching a fly half play for the All Blacks last night, who played 80 minutes and ended up winning the game at a canter.
Okay, also coming on to
Actually, Marcus Smith staying on the field here, Sarah. Staying on the field. George Furbank coming off with Ben Spencer and Ellis Genge after that pass to the touch judge. Has decided to bring him off. So at least we're sort of getting there that we're keeping the superstars on.
So Marcus Smith has gone to fullback as George Ford just slots in there in that first receiver position. Ball comes back then to Ben Earl. Normally we mention a lot about Ben Earl, but haven't seen quite so much of him here today. He's only made his 26 metres. Cunningham South has really been racking them up actually for England throughout this, and Ellis Genge as well. Confusion in the air, you've got to be careful with this. The referees are hot on it, and we've got a player down here for England. Obstruction call quite clearly there by Ben O'Keefe. So you watch the replays on the big screens now. It was Slightholme who was trying to go in for that one. Thoughts, Paul Grayson?
Lucan Salakaia-Lotto ran straight across the front of Ollie Slightholme. Blocked his line, caught him on the chin actually with his shoulder. That's what the crowd has seen on the big screen. I'm getting upset about as Henry Slade goes for the corner down the right-hand touchline. Slightholme still down, receiving treatment.
I do have a worry here, but what's happening with our game?
Well, you've obviously seen it. What do you think?
What is happening with a game? I mean, there is, for me, there's not a lot. I know the crowd are watching it on TV and
number 9, subs.
Blah blah, but get on with it. You're taking so much more contact. Slightholme staying down and milking it to try and, for it to draw attention to the whole thing. But it was a stupid manoeuvre, but I can't see him. For me, he's not deliberately elbowed anyone in the head.
Okay, Slightholme is okay. He did receive some treatment, but there's no claret there. There's no injury to him. Jamie George, the England captain, who's on the bench now, is up on his feet. He was incensed. The England crowd don't like it either, but referee Ben O'Keefe, his TMO's had a look, they're happy for things to play on. Right then, England somewhere in there have the ball. It's a bit of a mess, but it's moving forward by a couple of metres. It's still England 23, Australia 28, 63-minute mark. England haven't led for a while now after they lost the lead early at the end of the first half. It's loose on the floor. Somehow it's going to have to be gathered now by the replacement scrum half, Tate McDermott, who's on the field now for Australia. Gordon is off. McDermott is at the bottom of that ruck, so there's no scrum half for Australia. Are 5 metres from their own line and need to get out of there fast. England trying to find a way to get their mitts back on that ball. Get back attacking at the right end of the field. Manages to go back this time to the Australian captain, Harry Wilson. Got an important try for his own side in the first half. Taking their time, eventually they do clear with the box kick underneath. It is Freeman who straight away is pointed towards the try line, goes forward. Support has to come in this time by Smith, who's now playing at fullback. Big distribution to Itoje, who flies straight into the gold shirts. Now Randall looks up, Ford is there, into the middle. Dombrandt goes down, Randall once again, the Bristol zip man as he's been monikered. Now to Smith with the footwork. He's heavy into traffic though, Valentini. He saw Smith coming, he tried to hold him up. Eventually down to the ground he goes, 15 metres out then from that Australian line. And Ben O'Keefe has had to stop play.
Just like the England player, we need to stop the game for 8 gold.
Yeah, Australian skipper Harry Wilson took a clatter. Decided to go all out on Maro Itoje, go low, go for the knees. Think there may well have been a head in the way. Got a Maro Itoje right kneecap onto the temple, and he is wobbly to say the least. He needs to get off the field, which he is. Medics have been busy today.
Played well, Harry Wilson, carried the ball strongly, so lovely couple of soft touches, nice offloads, one down the left hand side in this second half where Australia nearly scored. Looks a good player.
You're going to restart, it's going to be an England scrum.
We described him early on as quite the athlete. He's a popular player as well, to captain your country at 24. It shows the high regard that Joe Schmidt has for the young man. But that is the end of his test match at Twickenham for today. On in his place, Lachie Gleeson, Waratah's man, winning his 10th cap. Both benches have been well utilised in this fixture throughout the whole test match, you have to say. As England still trail here, 23 points to 28. There's still 15 minutes to go. England lost last week under really fine margins against New Zealand. That's after they were in a winning position in the last 20, but they lost it. Can they fight back to a winning position here against Australia? This was meant to be the easier test match, but it's the Wallabies who are scrapping.
Reset. All the time.
Yeah. Ollie Sightholm just hovering in behind George Ford. George Ford sat right behind the scrum.
No pre-engagement.
Looks like probably Grace is going to be a late switch, whether it be right or left, probably left, and try and cause a little bit of confusion with the Australian defence.
Yeah, England want to stabilise their scrum. They made their changes in the front row. Then Baxter on the loose head. Tough 20 minutes for him last week. It's a chance to put it right now.
You're listening to 5 Sports Extra from the BBC. And BBC Sounds, the home of the Autumn Nations series. Every home nations match as England attack down the far side channel. Sightholm there once again. He's already scored 1 try, but he runs out of space. He's pushed into touch, and Australia will get a line out 5 metres out from their own line.
Okay, the mark is on the 5.
That is prime time attacking manoeuvre. Bennell slots into 8 and does all the hard work, just about gets round the outside of Valentini, but Ollie Sightholm's got to do something. He's got to cut a line. He's
drop in underneath, don't you?
England, step off.
Right then, Wallabies line out. Brendan Penga Amoso, the Western Force hooker, spent a bit of time at Montpellier. Eventually the ball comes away. It's through Valentini once again. He's carried a lot for Australia so far in West London this afternoon. Just a reminder, a couple more Autumn Nations series matches coming up today. Italy against Argentina, Also France against Japan, but big fixtures coming up tomorrow. Wales against Fiji, Scotland against South Africa. Keep across everything on BBC Sounds as the ball goes out of play on the far side by Australia. England have taken the line out quickly. Nothing constructed. Smith sees space, spins it out to Ollie Lawrence, who's on his own in the middle of the field. More players arrive. Eventually he's dragged down to the ground, but they've managed to flood this far side channel. Don Brand with a big pass out wide. Slight hope will finish, and all of a sudden England are back in the lead. With a conversion to come, it's level at England 28, Australia 28, 13 minutes to play. That was seen by Marcus Smith. He knew there was space. He gave it to his Queen's Club mate in Don Brandt. He got a lovely pass out to Slightholme. He finishes the job. Conversion to come, we're all square.
Play at pace. The ball's not off the pitch if you've caught it clean. 5 yards outside the touchline. Harry Randall passes the ball in. Smith makes a break. Don Brandt squares up, forces Soili to step in and then misses 2 players out. Just comes from keep the game alive, keep the ball moving. Lawrence does well to maintain possession and they're quickly away. Harry Randall doing what he does best, keeping tempo in the game. And then Don Brandt squares his shoulders to the line, makes a good pass.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be plenty of Harlequins fans wandering over from the stoop saying they've seen a lot of that over the years. Marcus Smith draws that in beautifully to take the lead. But that's, Sarah, why the crowd were booing, because they wanted this magic. They were worried that Marcus was going to go off the field. That's what we needed to see last week. You've got to have him on the pitch.
Marcus Smith then puts England back in the lead. It's been a while. Looking back down my notes, last time they were in the lead was at 39 minutes when Australia just went over and got that penalty just before half-time. So it's taken them there nearly half an hour to wrestle it back. Randall then puts the high ball up, comes back down for the Wallabies. Contest in the air is loose. Play on, says the referee. Wallabies spinning it far out towards the far side. Waiting out there is Jorgensen. He's quickly put down on his back though as the Wallabies have it back inside of their own half. England 30, Australia 28. We've got 10 minutes to play here at Twickenham. 10 minutes for England to hopefully not just hold on if you're an England fan, but to actually consolidate, get some more. That was the mistake last week against New Zealand. They let them back into the game. How can they roll the dice once again as the little bit of show and go there by Lolaseo manages to fool Ben Earl. Pushes back towards the far side, but the rest of the England forwards, they're alive to it. Valentini, 49th cap for the Brumbies, manages to get his hands back on it, pushes it our side of the field. They're running out of field there now. They need to think about how they're going to exit here, and they're going to go for the box kick this time through Tate McDermott. Played a bit of Aussie sevens in his time, now settling himself inside of the 15s. As he said, he's got quite a tussle on at the moment for that 9 shirt. Him and Gordon and White. Who's going to be there come that Lions tour next year? Loose ball on the floor. Lost again now by Australia. They're going to come back and reset that one. It was a knock on first by England, so we get an Australian scrum.
Australia substitution.
And there's a couple more changes here coming for Australia. You can see Ben Donaldson is desperate to get onto the field, as is James Slipper. If you don't know the name Slipper, where have you been? Australia's most capped player comes on for a little bit more Test rugby for his 141st cap.
The Aussies will be cursing that little knock on, because they need this game broken up. If it's going from set piece to set piece, slow phase to slow phase, England are going to lap it up, and they're probably going to turn Australia over and nick another try and seal the victory. Australia need it broken. They need their superstars, Ikitawa, Lolaseo, Sawali. These players need to be in broken field to cause the havoc. So that's what you're going to see in this last 10 minutes for Australia. It's just going to be random, throwing the ball willy-nilly.
As much as there's been an absolute roller coaster of a test match, we're just waiting.
Okay, guys, we've just had the confirmation. There was no knock on by England. It was the second knock on by Australia, so it's England ball.
Okay, so England have actually got the ball back there, and I was just saying, we were always expecting this test match to be a good one, but you have to say, as much as the England fans here in Twickenham have probably been a little bit worried by everything that's gone on, they're saying that the ball went forward from the tackle by the Australian player who actually pumped it out of Cunningham South's hand, so we're restarting there with an England scrum. It's been a great test match.
Plenty going on. It's not been the highest quality at times, but the jeopardy's certainly been there. England letting that lead slip and then coming back into it. All the good stuff, all the positive stuff is when England do something with intent.
Not the jeopardy perhaps that England fans wanted, but certainly a narrative to write. Ball goes down to the ground. They're going to reset this one. Dan Cole, of course, on there now.
Come here, please, guys. Quick reset.
England's second most capped male player in that front row.
Yeah.
It's got Finn Baxter there, Luke Cowan-Dickie. Bit of pressure you have to say on both Cole and Baxter after what happened last week against
So stay back if you need, and then keep the height.
New Zealand. But then perhaps a lot of that, they thought that maybe Luke Cowan-Dickie perhaps a little bit better in the scrum compared to around the field in comparison to Theo Dan, who's had to miss this one out here today. And they're going to pack down once again, both sides getting ready to go. England have beaten Australia in 10 of the last 11 test matches. If they can hold on to this one, they extend it to 11 out of 12. Hit over the head there nicely by England, gathered by Donaldson, who's hanging out in the backfield as they try and come back down that far side wing. Really nice stuff by Australia, again forcing England to turn and go back and gather the ball inside of their own 22. Ford finds Smith, now playing at fullback as he runs it on, tucks the ball under his right arm, goes right through the middle of the field once again. Randall, Earl. Ben Earl absolutely worked his socks off last week against New Zealand. Two more of the forwards going in for a little bit of the heavy carrying. He's racked up 47 metres so far in this fixture. It's Cunningham South who's leading the metres made as it goes down, up in the air. England have knocked on the ball inside of the Australian half. It's still England 30, Australia 28. 72 minutes on the clock. All Australia need is a penalty or a drop goal, and they are back in the lead. Joe Schmidt watching on from the coach's box. Hasn't been too many things to celebrate since he's been named Australia coach. A win at Twickenham, that would certainly be a feather in the cap as it comes down to George Ford. More England forwards have to arrive to try and shore things up. Randall goes in once again, tries to find a few more forwards to offer a bit of muscle, work towards the halfway line. England, we haven't seen a really big attack from them for a while now. They need to get out of their own half. Big box kick this time by Randall. Watching it land calmly down the throat there of McDermott. Lots of England players arrive to push Australia backwards. The crowd like that one. They've lost the scrum half, so a little bit of support comes in there by Tom Wright. He played a little bit of NRL in his time. Haven't said so much in this second half about Swaliti.
2, 1.
Waiting for it to come back this time. High ball up into the air. This time comes down, taken really nicely out there on the far side by England. Can they get something going here? Attacking inside of the Australian half. Cowan-Dickie offers himself forward. Really strong by him. The ball has been in play now for quite a while. As we go for another box kick, no one taking it off the field. That's a big charge down on Harry Randall. What's the referee going to say? Happy that it was onside? Yeah. And this is something that it's caught a couple of scrum halves out, you have to say, in this Autumn Nation series, and Harry Randall is not immune to it either. You can't have a guard just stood there now. Harry Randall is a small man, and you have to say,
we got him fine. Going
over the top of him as Salakai Lotto there, it's an easy contest.
Yeah, I mean, England have shown some brilliant character. 10 points down.
Yeah, full time.
You know, you're playing against any of these Southern Hemisphere teams. You're 10 points down to get yourself into a position to win the game. Great character. And now it's a different type of character that is needed when you're in the lead. And there's still plenty of time to go. You've got to expect Australia to score some more points. So yet again, it worries me, Paul Grayson, that they are going to this box kick tactic when it just slows it all down and actually breaks the game up, which sort of goes into maybe Australia's favour.
Yeah, just glancing up at the clock, ticking the minutes away. They've gone from 10 minutes, under 5 minutes left now. England pinning Australia back on their own left-hand side of the field, daring them to try and counter-attack. You think it's a risky strategy. Currently, England have possession of the ball, though.
Big line out, won by England just inside of the Wallabies half. Good time to mention this is England's 10th test of the year. Of the previous 9, they've won 4, lost 5. They can win this one, they're level, but it's Australia with the ball, with a break through the middle from Kellaway. Freeman is chasing him. Can Kellaway get there? Yes, to retain the lead for Australia with 5 minutes to go. Australia are in the lead, but will they check it?
I think potentially they will have a look at what happened in the midfield when Australia came up to make the defence. Was there a slight knock on? Was there a slight touch forward for that ball to get into Kelleher's hands? Slade went straight to the line. Grace, seen anything?
I think it was just passed behind. Lawrence caught, Ford passed it behind him.
Everything else is fine.
Yeah, it's all clear, mate.
Thanks.
Kellaway had the wheels
20 seconds
to get away.
Is given. Andrew Kellaway with a run of his life, and this will make it 5 points if the conversion goes over as well. England thought they were back in the lead. Australia had other thoughts. Lola Sayo to make it 5, and it is England 30, Australia 35. We have 4 minutes to play. England have to score a try at least.
Now, we spoke about character a little bit earlier on, and there it was, the drive-in line out, going forward. What were England doing necessarily going out that wide? But they've got ball back, Zara.
Great take in the air by Tommy Freeman. England attacking inside of the Australian half. They trail by 5 here on 5 Sports Extra. It's England 30, Australia 35. 3.5 minutes to play. Ball bit hacked on. Chased by Freeman and Lawrence, but tracking across his right. Is he going to take over his own line? Yes, he is. He had no choice. So we're going to come back. 5-metre scrum for England. They're in a tight corner, but great pressure there by Lawrence and Freeman to give England a chance. We have got just over 3 minutes, and Twickenham know what needs to happen here.
There's a lot of work by you, okay? So just be careful here.
Scrum of your lifetime. Come on, defining moment of the game. It's in your control. Nothing but set piece counts. Don't worry about any of the infringements, what the referee's going to say. Solid platform. If there's a nudge, you all chase on it. Rabid dog time. Get on it. Any kind of parity, Ben Earl, get the ball, get it in play, and just go through the phases. Real simple, what they call minute drill.
Big scrum for England, who trailed by 5. England 30, Australia 35. Less than 3 minutes on the clock. Earl out the back into heavy tracking. Huge tackle coming in by Fraser McWright. It's a scrap on the ground. Somehow England managed to secure their ball. Pick and go once again round the corner. 2 metres short by the England forwards, who have to score. Someone has to get over the line before England come in. Once again, it's still English ball. Imagine the Australian celebrations if they hold on. They kick and go once again. Is that the one? It's over. England score. They level at Twickenham with less than 2 minutes on the clock. There's still a conversion to come to try and win this. It has been so tense. So tense. Hats off to the England forwards. They did a job.
Well, and I don't want to mention it again, but you can't help but reference back to last week and the error. I'd love to hear Steve Borthwick actually put his hand up at some stage and say he made a mistake last week, taking Marcus Smith off. But that's just another reason. That little short side break, the grubber through, just to relieve the pressure. Go on then, where are you going to go from 5 metres? No, you're not, and we're all over you.
Okay, England 35, Australia 35. 10 seconds on the clock for Marcus Smith.
Sorry, it's
to
all
take
clear.
this ahead. Right then, here we go. High into the sky. has put England into the lead. It is now England 37, Australia 35. 79 minutes on the clock. Right then. The ball goes high into the sky then. Restart then by Australia. England try and gather the ball, but they've knocked it on. Knocked on. So Australia have a chance here. They're going to restart with a scrum. The scrum is going to be an Australian ball. And here is the opportunity for Australia. 20 seconds to go. They're 15 metres out from this near side touch. And they're going to have to do something extra special. Extra special then coming from Australia to try and do something here. So England 37, Australia 35. The clock is gone. We just said it was an England scrum of their lives. This could be an Australian scrum of their lives. This is what? 30 metres out?
I mean, I suppose what's the theory? Again, Australia get a little bit of a nudge. They're going to keep it in there and go for the penalty. Otherwise, they just cannot risk it. The ball's got to be in and out, and you've got to gamble and play.
Okay, Ben O'Keefe, he wasn't happy with that, and he's going to be so reluctant to make any kind of decision in either direction now. He wants the two sides to decide this easily themselves. Here we go. England 37, Australia 35. Clock is gone. Australia had taken the lead. Once again, I mean, I've had it twice in this fixture. England have managed to wrestle it back. What a test match. Right, ball is in. That's a big push. It's gone down. As I said, Ben O'Keefe has made a decision. He says it's gone down to ground, but he's not going to give a penalty. He has zero interest. He's just going to reset this and reset it again. It would have to be so clear and obvious for him to do something here. What are you thinking, Paul Grayson? What would you do?
Well, Australia obviously fancied themselves in the scrum. They went for the double shunt there. We're just seeing a replay now. It's hard to tell whether that's loose head or tight head going down first. Tried to paint the picture there, Australia, by driving over the top of England once it had collapsed.
I mean, there were plenty of Australians patting each other on the back to say, come on, we've got this. That was ours. They fancy it. I think they fancy it, Sarah.
They fancy it. Remember, they trailed by 2. So a penalty opportunity could be a big penalty opportunity, but they're going to play. Here it comes down the line. Ikitau through the middle of the field. He goes down to ground. The Australian forwards arrive. They trail by 2 here. Comes back this time. The big man off the bench. This time Gleeson. They're still playing between the 10 and the 22. England just need the ball back. Finn Baxter went over the top. Referee is saying play on. Baxter lets go. They cannot give away a penalty here, England. It is so tight. Round the forward go the Australian forwards. Imagine if they can get something here. England 37. Australia 35. Knocked on ball by England, but that would be the end of the game, so Australia have to play. Right then, they're still locked a long way out from the England 22. Can they get someone in the pocket for a drop goal? We're keeping a close eye. They've got options there. Ben Donaldson, he could do it. They've got Ikitau there. He wouldn't mind fancying a shot either. They're getting closer now, the Australians. They make a couple of metres. Picked up ball. They give it to one of the big men, Mpenga Amosa. Middle of the field. They're going to try once again. Here goes to the magic man, Swali'i. He goes forward. Valentini now. England 37, Australia 35. Australia need to find a position for a drop goal. Oh, they're passing it out down the line. Maybe they're going for the try. Big pass out wide. Jorgensen's going to go for glory over the line. Australia will win at Twickenham at the death. Oh my goodness. The whole of Twickenham is in shock. What a moment for Australian rugby. They cannot believe it. Down on the bench, they are in raptures. Max Jorgensen has just scored in the corner. The conversion doesn't matter. England have lost.
What a finish by Australia. We're all holding our breath there, thinking they've got to try and engineer a drop goal. It's the only way they're going to score. And then they peeled away to the left-hand side. England's defence hinged in as they have been doing all day. And then just on the outside of George Ford. Can't quite see the Australian. Oh, there you go, Len Ikitau. He has had a fantastic game, the number 12. Beautiful left-handed offload out the back. Jorgensen is properly rapid. Full dive to finish.
The conversion doesn't matter, but it is through. What a win for Australia! England 37, Australia 42 as Donaldson converts. And Australia, hosting the Lions Tour in 2025, have come up to the Northern Hemisphere. They're playing England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. They've been talking about their own Grand Slam. Well, they've started and they have taken a big scalp. England, they have got some problems. 10 tests they've played this year. They've won 4. They've now lost 6. Matt Dawson.
I can't lose sight of what a incredible try that was under the pressure from Australia. I think there were 5 passes in that play, quick succession for Jorgensen to score in the corner. I mean, England had it. They had the game again. How many times are we going to talk about this? England have the game under their control, and they go back to this dreaded box kick. I mean, again, I nearly swore there, but it's honestly, it's so tedious, and it gets them in trouble every single time. And the moment they play, the moment for whatever, I don't know, 65 minutes, England were fantastic. 15 minutes of rubbish, and it's cost them.
Thank you so much for joining us on 5 Sports Extra today. It has been a win for Australia at Twickenham. 2 losses now for England in this Autumn Nations series. There'll be more reaction later today on 5 Live. There will be an On the Whistle pod coming your way onto BBC Sounds on the Rugby Union Weekly. But that is it from us. I say thank you to Paul Grayson and Matt Dawson, also our producer and engineer Victoria as well. But it's all over. England 37, Australia 42.